wasn't the invention of policing was for that. It might have been our, what our first form of policing in this country was, built why we did it to begin with, right? But it wasn't why policing
Now, might want to
was originally invented.
introduce.
Yeah. All right. Sorry. We're on. See, we like this so much. We do it even when you guys aren't watching. Welcome to PDA. Thanks for showing up. I think we'll probably, hopefully, oh, wait. No. Get Jack on later because he was part of the discussion. Dot, we haven't really had a chance to talk to you since last week, but one of the things that we really got into last week was critical race theory and the idea of
without the black man.
Right. We grabbed the third wheel. We grabbed the third rail and squeezed it tight, while you were gone. You know me. I mean, you ask me a question. It's hard to stop me from giving you an answer. You know what I mean? So, anyways,
So what did y'all discover?
So just to give you a recap of last week, what we were talking about, I was defending the idea that part of what people were talking about was deepening the conversation about racism and making it more about just how there was slavery, how we ended slavery, and how since then we've just been moving towards something better and having a deeper conversation about it. And I was saying, I think that in its basic form is a great thing. Like, we should be having a deeper conversation. And where I was getting a lot of pushback was that there was this idea that there were all these schools that wanted to start teaching like elementary kids how everybody's racist and the system's fixed. And at that age, that's too much information and it's going to, make them feel defeated before they even get started. So I was saying, do you actually know that that's happening though? Because we don't know that much about the whole critical race theory as what it is, and none of us know what any school boards are planning on putting in new curriculums that everybody's so upset about. So maybe before we start drawing our lines in the sand, we should actually know what those things are before we decide to get upset about them, because it'd be really silly if we were getting upset about shit that's not even actually true, right? So that's kind of where we left it. And I can't speak for everybody else, but I did a lot of that, right? I got some videos from Jack, who was on the show last week. I watched those. I also specifically went and looked up information about, school boards and school districts and plans to implement, new lesson plans based on critical race theory. And I didn't see any of that. That's what we were kind of talking about when you came on, is I don't know if anybody else found examples of that, but what I found was that critical race theory seemed like when it was created was not like, hey, this is what's going on, right? But it was more of a broadened theory of what a lot of people have considered are different ideas of what racism is and where it comes from. And it looked to me, my understanding of it was more of it as like a thought exercise, like more on like a college level, like, here's what people are thinking. Let's talk about that and see what everybody thinks about these different ideas and theories, right? And they did that, and people listened to that, and a lot of it did make sense. I don't think all of it, at least to me, makes sense. I think some of it is ridiculous, but a lot of it isn't. Institutional racism, we know that is real, right? Built in, I don't know if I'd call it racism. We've had this conversation before, but like built-in stereotypes that we all have. I don't know that necessarily makes you racist. I've always felt like there has to be for me, there has to be some intention built into it before I consider it racist. You know what I mean? I think people have stereotypes and sometimes don't even realize that they do. And I mean, that's one man's, I don't know that that's the definition of racism or anything, right? But I'm a big intent person. I really have a hard time judging people for something they didn't have any intent on, like intentions are big to me. Anyways,
Well, the one thing about the one downside about being an intent person is you can apply intent to a situation where there's no intent even needed. It is what it is,
No,
you
well,
know, and
so I'm
that can
saying,
give you a miscalculation of
yeah,
a whole scenario because
yes.
you're diving into what the intent is when some things don't have intent. Some things just are.
Well, so okay, so let me be clear. I'm saying I like to judge people based on their intent rather than just what happened, right? That
Right.
doesn't mean that what happened is right and shouldn't be fixed or dealt with or talked about, right? But the actual human being involved in that situation, I like to judge based on what their intentions were because we all do stupid shit. Like we all do shit where we had good intentions and it didn't work out correctly. I'd rather judge somebody on if they, if their intentions were good. You don't always know that, right? I mean, you can't always know for sure what somebody's intentions were. But if I yeah, I mean, fuck, we all have girlfriends. How many times have we tried to do something nice for our girlfriends and it backfires? Does that make us an asshole? I mean, I think when you're trying to do something nice, that makes you a good person. The fact that you got it wrong may make you an idiot or may make you a guy and you have a girlfriend, right? But like it doesn't necessarily make you an asshole. You know what I mean? That's what I guess I'm saying. That doesn't necessarily mean that if, to use my scenario, you buy your girlfriend a gym membership because she's put on some weight, that
Oh
you're not a
no.
fucking idiot and somebody shouldn't sit down and say, if you didn't realize that was me, you're an idiot, right? But if you didn't, there's a difference between being stupid and being an asshole, right? Like guys buy their wife a vacuum cleaner because the one they have really fucking sucks, right? And that guy might be dumb enough to think that's actually a really nice thing to do. The rest of us know that's a really dumbass thing to do, right?
Hey, my wife loved her vacuum cleaner.
In most cases, right? Okay, but you get my point. Like that's really fucking stupid. It doesn't change that it was stupid or that it was wrong, but the fact that he was trying to do something nice means something, I think, right? I mean, there's a difference if you're buying your girlfriend a membership to a gym because you want her to feel shitty about herself. That's a different intent, and that does make you an asshole. You see what I mean? I guess that's what I'm trying to say. I think there's a different intent makes a big
You have to
difference.
be careful about that because that's the whole like sexual or sexism, because a lot of men, and that's their defense, is that they didn't mean to sexualize the woman, and the woman is the one, well, I felt sexualized,
Right.
so we have to be on her side whether
And
intent was there or
accept her
not.
for
The way she
who
felt.
and how she looks.
But here's the thing. The reason why I don't see anything
Now,
wrong with
if you approach it with "I want you to be healthier," that's different.
the gym membership. I mean, it's just an example, right? I maybe
Right.
could have come up with a better one. I'm just trying to give examples of intent. And the reason why I don't think there's wrong
Your
with
intentions were good,
right,
but the
exactly.
delivery
There
kind
you
of,
go.
you
My
know.
point, even with what you're talking about, though, Victor, is I'm not saying the behavior doesn't need to be corrected, but I'm saying the intention of the behavior should factor into it. Different levels for different situations, but not taking into consideration the intent, I think is bad. I mean, I think it leads to cancel culture. It leads to somebody saying one dumb thing and it doesn't matter even what their intent for saying it was. Yeah, I mean, like people's intent matters. Is it the only thing that matters, or does it mean that when they do something wrong that shouldn't be addressed? No, but there is a massive difference between somebody doing something to be an asshole and doing something because they didn't realize it made him an asshole. I think it's dangerous not
So
to separate that.
so let me give you a deeper dive on intent, man.
Okay.
We is like you have. I use the word aggression and microaggressions, right? You can break down intent in different dimensions. So you in the one of the more common place factors are in relationships, right? People say, well, I love this person. I did everything for them. Well, your intentions may have been good and the relationship didn't work out, but you also had an underlining motive. You were getting your glorification, self-glorification by saying, I am being good to someone.
But isn't that? I mean,
You-
that's still intent.
But
Then I mean, that still comes
it's
back to
intent. It's intent, but you cannot what can happen like people's intent basically runs off of their motive.
sure.
And motive can be their motive can be one of those things is motive is always going to be self-related, is selfish in nature, and the perspective of that can be good or bad. It's
Yes,
just based on when you get down to the root of it.
sure.
But to automatically, not automatically, but to just look at intent is going to be very difficult to gauge whether their intent is good, because good intentions can be bad intentions can be hidden in good motives.
Yes.
Yep.
Which I mean, which is why I said from the very beginning, you're not always going to actually, and often not know for sure what somebody's intent is, right? You're going to have to make a judgment call on that because only the person who does it knows what's going on in their brain when they do it. But to suggest that while we might not know on a single individual basis every single time what somebody's intent was, to suggest that we also don't know that often people try to do things with good intent and end up tripping up along the way without even realizing. We know, I mean, like, I know that's possible because I've done it, right? And I know what my intent was, whether anybody believes me or, like, from a personal level, I know that I have done something with nothing but good intentions. And to speak on what you were saying, yeah, good intentions that were selfish in the sense that making that person feel good also made me feel good, which is why I did it. I mean, I think that's a good selfishness, right? I mean, you're right. We're all individual people. Why we do things is always going to relate to ourselves in some form. I mean, that's the way human existence works, right? But you can have selfish, ideas that are based on good selfish things, like I like to make people feel good because it feels good to make people feel good. And you can have shitty ones, which is, it makes me feel good to make people feel like shit, right? Or whatever. I'm doing it because in the long run, I'm going to get something out of it, not just a good feeling from helping somebody, right? But hold on, but I still think we often, now more than ever, just take intention completely out of it, right? Like, let's not just decide whether what happened was good or bad, but let's judge the person who did it based on whether we liked it or not, and not give a shit at all why they did it in the first place. And I don't think that's healthy. I don't. Yeah.
Well, let's not even judge. Let's just observe.
Hold on one second. Yeah, I
And then
mean,
when you observe, you take the data for what it is.
sure. Because here's the thing. While you're right in the fact that we never know, and you could think somebody came from a good place and they didn't, the flip side of that is also true, which we do all the time, and assume that because we didn't like the outcome, that it came from a negative place, which we also don't know is true, right? Like, we don't know. Some people, I think sometimes we have a good idea, though. Perfect strangers, maybe not, right? But we're not perfect strangers with everybody. I know you guys really well. You guys say stuff sometimes that I don't like, right? Or that I think, is not a good thing to be saying, but it's what you believe. I don't think that comes from a bad place because I know you guys both really, really well. And I feel comfortable in the fact that you wouldn't that reason, right? Like, I feel comfortable. It's just, that's what you believe. And we feel, strongly different about that, right? I could be wrong. One of you guys could have the intention to use this show that very few people to watch to spread a hateful message and fuck the world up, right? I don't think that's true, though. And I think I'm probably right about that. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of times you do have a pretty good idea whether what somebody's intentions were. Not always, though, for sure. Anyways, does anybody else? We kind of got off on a tangent, which is what we do. But referring back to the critical race theory, the stuff that I was reading suggested that people did that, right? People had discussions about the critical race theory, which, like, let's be fair, is not like really one theory, right? It's a lot of ideas about racism shoved into a title of critical race theory. And some of those things, well, all those things could be true, right? It's also possible that a lot of them could be true and some of them not, right? I think, a lot of that stuff, I think most people are going to go through and say, yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. I agree. Nope, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. It's a lot of different theories. And it's not necessarily like if you agree with one of them, you have to agree with every part of it, right? I mean,
Well, see, when you look at the factor of what you agree with, it doesn't matter. The tangible facts are the tangible facts. What happened, happened. What is what is.
yeah, but it's not a
Whether you
history
agree
lesson.
with it or not. I
Yeah,
mean,
but
it
it's
is
not
a history lesson because it's
It's not.
education of history.
But it's not. It's not. I mean, it's not just this happened, this happened, this happened, and this happened. It is this happened, and because of that, we've gotten to here. And
Okay.
because this, we've gotten to here. So there is a lot of conclusion drawing based on facts that happen. It's not just a list of the facts. And that doesn't necessarily mean they're wrong, but it also isn't proof that they're right. It's still a theory.
I mean, I think that it's safe to say that if you can go in a chronological order with data, you can end up to an outcome that this happened, therefore it equaled this.
But that's not, I mean, I don't, a lot of the stuff I saw, I don't like.
I don't know what you saw, so I'm missing
like,
some data.
I mean, one of the ideas of critical race theory is that all white people are racist. I don't think that you can follow steps that guarantee that that's true. I mean, you can follow steps.
We've had this conversation.
Believe that.
So break down races. Like we've had. You can't.
You could do it based on I have a different idea of what racism is, and so it's true to me, right?
It's like we say. It's like a lot of black people say. And I even had this a slight off-topic conversation with one of the girls at work, white girl, right? And I don't know her intentions, but we're talking about how we work in a suburb area, and she her husband's a realtor, so that they're pretty well off, and she was like she hates living in the suburb because the people are like privileged and weird and it's concerning to her and everything is fake. When she grew up in the hood, she felt more love. And I said, well, I could understand that because the hood loves and protect the people of the hood. But the misconception is you're going to get more love and more family feeling living in this affluent community, which is a complete crock of shit. You're gonna really feel love in the hood that you won't, like, if you're not from that hood, then you're gonna see like, okay, well, you're gonna be met with aggression. But the children are looked after by the other adults in the hood.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm not saying you're wrong. And
but it was like I said, it was a little side conversation,
right?
That she was pointing out what even her with being white, approach.
But I could make an argument too that I think I've experienced both sides of that rainbow in a really inclusive, right? Not as an outsider, right? Like I was born in the suburbs, and spent a lot of time before I got older and kind of moved out of that lifestyle for a long time. And now I'm back in the suburbs. But when I did go in that other direction, while I felt like an outcast for a period of time, not very long into it, I didn't. Like I was more like a family member of person whose house I was staying in all the time, and everybody eventually just kind of accepted me as the family member that looked different than everybody else. And it was a real inclusive feeling. And I understand what she's saying, because there is a real sense of like, we're in this together because we have to be, right? Which is a beautiful thing. And there is like a sense of community that you don't get in the suburbs. But there is fake shit in the ghetto too, and there's predators in the ghetto, and there's people, you know what I mean? Like,
there are.
And
It's
in the
both
suburbs, there's also, I mean, I've lived it also
I've
depends
lived
on
in both.
right. And
I've
I've
lived
had
in both.
amazing. The last place I live here, I have pretty good neighbors. I have one that's amazing. I love them. They're great. They're always there. They're always helpful. They're nice. They're wonderful to everybody. Right. And the last neighborhood I lived in, everybody was like, I mean, like within a couple of months of moving to that neighborhood, like the 5 houses around me, we were like hanging out with each other every single day, doing shit for, you know what I mean? So you can find that too, but I can imagine it feeling a lot harder to find that if you come from something different where it looks and feels different than what you're used to. You know what I'm saying? And it can be easier to write people off just because they do it differently than the way you're used to experiencing. I'm not saying she's wrong. Look, neighbors don't know each other as well in those neighborhoods. Like and it's not like it was one neighborhood either. Like
it's gonna storm, you guys.
Multiple shitty neighborhoods I've lived in, everybody knew each other. You know what I mean? Like everybody knew each other, but they also just spent a lot more time together. Like people hung out on the porches and played fucking shit, games, and hung out and drank beer together and shit. And I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but it felt to me, it was an amazing, wonderful thing that was built on the idea that like, we all came together in order to have those experiences because we needed to have, like, somebody brought the beer and somebody brought the cards and somebody brought you know what I mean? Like, not necessarily that specific, but like there was a reason for that community to come together. Whereas out here, they all have that shit all on their own. You know what I mean? And they don't feel, it's like it's solely based on a want to do it and not a need to do it. And it's a different thing. You know what I mean? It's not necessarily, I don't know that one's necessarily bad. It's just very different. But what was the point you were going to make about it though? I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was just sharing that story. But just touching back on, critical race theory, I haven't dove into it in depth as far as like what the curriculum is per se.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
I'm pretty sure if it's being met with such resistance, it probably doesn't put white people in a good light.
Look, you're not.
Mind you,
I 100% agree with you that the majority of the resistance is for that exact reason. I don't disagree with you at all.
But mind you, American history has literally put black people in a light in which it didn't give a damn. Like, hey, guess what? You were slaves.
Agreed.
On top of that, you are criminals, thugs, everything negative.
Right. And also, you should kind of just be glad that we freed you and you have a chance to not be a slave.
Right. And then they put the picture, and then the picture of they use a picture of what was a guy named Jesus. Like where you look at that photo of that dude when you Google it, like, bro, you would not survive in Egypt without any SPF, anything.
And that's my point,
all, bro.
Is that
like I'm pretty sure he looked a lot more like me.
Yeah. Look,
but that would shake up. That would shake up the whole world if an actual Polaroid was developed of the dude. They'd be like, I'm not worshiping that guy. Is not my God. Where's Kyle?
I don't know about the whole world, but there would certainly be parts of it that would
baby Jesus.
Very upset. Look,
with his little tuxedo and his little.
Here's the thing, though.
I like that Jesus.
None of what you're saying I think goes against what I was reading. I think there's just more to it, right? Because I don't think you're wrong. I think so. First of all, my understanding, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but based on what I was looking at, and I'm not pretending to be an expert on critical race theory, but what I understood it to be was a thought exercise, not the person who put it together's intention wasn't, I believe everything in this to be true, and we need to make everybody else believe that it's true. It was more of a collection of ideas about what racism is, the damage that it's caused, why, how, and the effects of all of that. Not all of it, even the person who put it together necessarily agreed with it. It was just, this is what's out there, right? And it's putting all together under one umbrella. And the idea of it is that it's a thought exercise, that people are supposed to come together and talk about these things that people are thinking and believing, and have good informed conversations about it, open up their minds to ideas that they haven't thought about before, and then use that broadened thoughts, right, that bigger mind, to go out and do some good with it, right? And it seems like that's what's happened. It seems like they did that.
Well,
People
I don't
had
think they
those
want to do good with it.
conversations. Well,
and sorry to interrupt. I don't think it's about. I don't think it's about a step plan to an end goal. I think it's just about, hey, let me educate you on what the truth is. Take it at that and have a good day.
It doesn't seem like, based on the stuff I read, that was the intention of the person who put it together, for what it's worth. I don't.
Okay.
None of the stuff I read suggested that the guy who put it together is what he believed to be true, but that.
I thought it was a she.
No, I thought it was a dude.
It's not that lady, the 1619 lady.
Possibly.
Yeah, I thought it was
Possibly,
a lady.
I don't think so.
Or she's the one that helped push it forward. She's one of the ones that helped push it forward, I think.
Roy Brooks. In 1994, a collection of critical stances against the existence, legal order from a race-based point of view.
It's from the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's not. And for what it's worth, I couldn't think of it when you said it, but as soon as I saw the name Roy Brooks, in everything I read, that's who they gave credit to for critical race theory.
Yeah, CRT originated in the mid-1970s in the writings of several American legal scholars, including Derek Bell,
Alan wasn't
Freeman, Kimberly,
called critical race theory back then. That's the origin. Yeah, critical race theory, not, the ideas of institutional racism and a lot of the stuff that's in the definition of critical racism. Critical race theory might have, I would think, became even further than that. Yeah, I'm in the early analysis that later consolidated into critical race theory, developed in 1970. That's just, the thing that you're reading, if you go up to the top of it, says that it's 1994 and it's Brooks. That's like the history of how it all began, but that it wasn't called critical race theory. It wasn't what we're talking about. It's like the birth of the idea of it. Like the birth of the civil rights movement isn't when they started marching, you know what I'm saying? But the birth of anything comes before the actual thing. I'm looking at the same thing that says CRT originated in the mid-70s, but actual critical race theory is a critical race theory 1994 collection of critical stances against the existence, legal order from a race-based point of view. There was a co-founder, but he's also a dude, Richard Delgado, a co-founder of the theory, defined it in 2017 as a collection of activities and scholars interested in studying and transforming the relationship amongst race, racism, and power. And then history early analysis that later consolidated into critical race theory developed in the 1970s as legal scholars, activists, and lawyers tried to understand while civil rights era victories had stalled and were being eroded. In the 80s, students of color at Harvard Law School organized protests regarding Harvard's lack of racial diversity in the curriculum. Among students and the facility, these students supported Professor Derek Bell, who left Harvard Law in 1980 and became the dean of the University of Oregon School of Law. During this time at Harvard, during this time at Harvard, Bell had developed new courses that studied American law through a racial lens. Harvard students of color wanted faculty of color to teach the new courses in his history absence. Bell resigned as
Oh my gosh.
but doesn't have a person.
the first formal centered on critical race theory was the 1989's New Developments in Critical Race Theory workshop, an effort to connect the theoretical underpinning of critical law studies to the day-to-day realities of American racial politics. But again, I mean, even this
my fancy apple
is
juice.
not what critical race, like this is what they're talking about in 1989 is just a part of what is now the overall blanket of critical race theory. This isn't what they started talking about in 1989 isn't a completed version of what we're talking about. This is like specifically refer to the theoretical underprinting of critical legal studies to the day-to-day realities of American racial politics, which is, if you start reading all the into critical race theory, I mean, it's a much larger idea than just the day-to-day, the underpinnings of critical legal studies to the day-to-day realities of American racial politics would be a very small aspect of what critical race theory is as a whole.
I think that's what the whole idea is, and that's what people are saying, is that originally it was just a idea for law, and that it grew into more. And
right. But what we're talking about isn't what they were discussing as far as the legal undertones of racial inequality, right? I don't think anybody actually has an issue with that part of it. That's not where the controversy is coming from, is that some civil rights activists were looking into, from a legal standpoint, inequality due to race. I don't think most people are jumping up and down about that. It's the stuff about, whether I can't say the fucking word. Segregation would be better for our society than us all trying to live together. The idea that all white people are racist, there's the idea that everything is stacked against you if you're black and everything is lined up for you if you're white. These are the theories of critical race theory that
but
is
can you
all the controversy.
say that? And so here's the thing with that statement, even if it's 1 to 2% of truth, then that does make it true. The percentage may be small.
I've said,
nonetheless,
much more than 2% of it is true.
Right? But I'm playing devil's advocate to say that. Can you not agree that is a true statement?
No, I mean, not what I just said. I don't think is a truth. I don't think.
Once again, if even a small, minute percentage of that statement is true,
I don't think that's how it works. I don't think that's how truth works. I don't think
not
you
in
get
a
to
whole, not in a big, not in a whole. But if we can identify markers that spark that idea, then that becomes true. It just may not be.
I don't know that we're necessarily disagreeing with each other. There are large parts of critical race theory that, in my opinion, there's no doubt are accurate. I think anybody who would try to deny it would just be somebody who has their head buried in a fucking hole. I mean, there's obvious factual information to back up large parts of critical race theory. I mean, there's no doubt for anybody with a legitimate ability to understand how things work could say that that stuff's not true. But then there are also some stuff that takes those factual information and says, based on these facts, we think this is true and this is true and this is true. And I think those higher level thinking things you can begin to question the accuracy of and have, you know, fair-minded disagreements about whether they're accurate or not. You know, some people might agree with them and they might be right. Wouldn't agree with all of them. And I, you know, would disagree with those people on some of those things. So, you know what I'm saying? I think that's where the difference lies. You know, the factual parts of it are factual parts of it. You know, if you're going to argue with that, you need to have other facts that back up why those facts aren't true. I think we often like to fall back on this idea like, well, I just don't believe that, or I just don't think that's true. And you're allowed to do that, right? You can stick your head in the sand, ignore the facts, and just decide what you like is true. But you can't really have a debate about it. Like when you want to debate something, you have to like give reasons why what you think is accurate other than I feel that way, right? So
which negates intention.
No, it doesn't. I mean, again, I'll be as clear about this as I can be. Somebody with good intent can do something wrong. I'm not suggesting that if you have the right intent, whatever you do, I'm 100% behind. That's not what I'm saying. You can have all the most wonderful intent in the world and do something really fucking shitty that you shouldn't do. And that's not okay. It's not okay to allow somebody to do that. We need to stop people that do things that are okay. I'm just saying, when you're judging the person who did them, not taking into consideration their intent, I think puts us in a lot of trouble because we all do, you know, we all think we're the hero in our story. Not everybody, but most people think they're the hero in their story. Most people aren't out there trying to do shitty stuff. We now, more than ever, it seems like, assume that when somebody does something that you don't like, that's because they're a shitty person. And I would argue that is often not the case. Sometimes it is, sure. But I would think more often than not, it's not the case. And yet we behave as though more often than not, it's the case. When somebody does something fucked up, it's because they're fucked up. And we never even try to figure out why they did it. We just assume that the action reflects the person. And that's often not true. That's all I'm saying. Not that what they did isn't bad, but that their intention might not have been.
Well, when you're talking about what the country was built on, the how, the why, I'm pretty sure that they didn't give a fuck about the people.
But that's not my argument.
It wasn't. I just say that
argument,
was your. I just say that was your argument.
I'm not saying.
What I'm saying is that when we dive into this
racism,
race theory,
selfish power and profit. There's no doubt. I mean, that intent was not good. I agree. I'm not saying we need to accept that everybody's intent is good. I'm saying we need to try to consider what somebody's intent was before we judge that person. That's all. Like people sometimes,
this episode is sponsored by my fancy apple juice.
Lots of times people's intent is greed and power. Those are not good intentions. Like, I'm not suggesting everybody's intent all the time is good, but it often is. And we often don't even try to consider that. Like, it's just we don't like what they did, so we don't like them. And I think if we use that, you could not like anybody. You know what I'm saying? Like, if that's your standard of a person, we all suck because we've all done shitty things. Sometimes I would argue most of us have done shitty things with bad intentions, right? Like at some point, we've all looked at something and said, that's probably what I should do, but I want the result of this and I'm going to do that, right? I mean, we've all done that at some point in our life, right? And I think maybe for reasons that were important enough to us, whatever. But often we're doing stuff with the right intention and people don't like what we're doing, right? I mean, it's a mistake to not consider people's intent and only what they do. I mean, how many times does somebody, like in this day and age, nobody here can think of an example of somebody they've heard have said something and we've completely judged them for that statement and found out later on, oh, that guy was actually not that bad of a fucking guy. He was actually a pretty good guy and stuck his fucking foot in his mouth one fucking time and we fucking crucified him for it. Like that happens all the fucking time. We never stop to say, who is the person do it? Is it just a stupid thing?
What's the name of the damn
is he just an ignorant, was he just ignorant to what he said?
Female chef? Female chef in trouble?
I don't know about that one. I don't know that was an accident.
What'd you say?
Paula Deen.
Paula Deen.
I don't know that she's like a horrible person, but I don't know that she didn't mean what she said. You know what I mean? Like that's a gray area there. I don't know.
She was on that hateful lane. She was like, no.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
Yeah. And then like did the whole apology thing, and then like fucked up again. I think, right? Well, like it wasn't just one time.
Well, she got a dog, and then like
no.
Yeah, she got a dog, and she put it up online
for
naming the dog.
No, I'm just kidding.
And the winner of the dog naming contest was
the dog named Blackie?
Yeah, that's right, Blackie.
Hey,
and she
how did I know?
She gave him the name?
Yeah,
how
she
did
did.
I know?
Oh, yeah, that's bad. Yeah,
it was a black dog.
Right.
I mean,
look,
it was a black dog.
Right. I mean, look, we can come up with these examples over and over again. None of them are like all y'all have so far pointed out is that there are people who have bad intentions. I'm not suggesting otherwise. Like there are people with bad intentions. There are bad people. There are people who do stuff because, they haven't come to the realization that what they're doing is bad or because they don't care or whatever, right? I mean, people.
Blackie.
But some people just don't know that they shouldn't be saying that. And it's harder now than ever for that not to be true. What's okay to say changes all the fucking time. I mean, you'd have to have a full-time job to never stick your foot in your mouth.
Look. People say it because they're comfortable with saying it until they get in trouble. That's all.
Right.
If they don't get caught,
but you can't sit here and pretend that certain things have gone from being okay to say to not being okay to say. And not
Think
just
about like this, right? Can children walk around saying shit, fuck, shit, ass, shit, fuck, Paul Mooney style? It's not okay, but adults can.
Yeah, I think it's ridiculous. Those aren't hateful words. Like the idea to me that poop and shit are different is the dumbest thing I've ever heard of in my fucking life. I mean, if you picture the same thing in your head when I say it, who gives a damn what word I fucking use to get you there? I think that's retarded. Okay? Bad word. Shouldn't have said that. I think that's stupid. I think that's mentally challenged.
So now you're associating retarded with stupid and mentally challenged. You're such a bad person, and I don't like your intentions. And I think
there it is, right there.
Yeah, I think that's a good exact example.
Perfect example.
Of what I'm talking about. Right.
Canceled. Cancel his ass.
All 35 of you motherfuckers, stop watching.
Hey, I've been trying to invite my friends. I'm on a computer right now, inviting people, but for some reason I don't know if the group is public or what, but it's hard.
They have to get invited into the group, which there's not a way around with a group.
No, I know. I did that portion.
Okay.
But it just pops up in error, and I'm like, screw you, error. It's all good.
All right. So anyways, I watched a thing on Friday on Bill Maher where they were talking about Matt Damon, right?
Matt Damon. You have to say it like that.
Matt Damon has
Team
been
America. Matt Damon.
politically correct jail like 6-7 fucking times for the dumbest shit. Like, it's the dumbest nonsensical bullshit. Like, it's so ridiculous that now he's in a lot of trouble because he admitted that growing up as a kid in Boston, people use the word fag, right?
Yeah.
And that it wasn't a hateful thing. It was just like a way you made fun of your friends. And he realizes now that even though they didn't mean anything bad by it, that it was bad. Like, they shouldn't have done it, right? And he
Yeah,
didn't
but you
realize
got to realize that was the 80s. Everybody did that.
right. This is my point.
And they used
Things
it in
that
a
are okay
derogatory way. It
change.
was like, yeah.
Right. It wasn't, it really, here's the point I do get about it is it was derogatory in the sense that you weren't saying it as a nice thing about your friend, right? It was like a cut on them, right? That's where the derogatory part comes in. But that said,
Right.
I think most people that were saying it weren't like, "Oh, I hate fags, and that's why I'm calling you fag." It was because you knew your friend didn't want people to think that he was gay, and that's why you said it, right? Like, it wasn't, you weren't
I
trying
don't
to.
know if it was that much. I don't even know if sexual orientation went into it. I think it was just another word for like, oh, you
I think
stupid idiot.
I think it was both. I think it was both. I mean, me
Well,
and my,
it's reason
I'm about to
what it
get
was
canceled.
that the reason why I'm about to get canceled.
But
As we're gonna
okay, and I'm
change
not
this
even going to say
podcast.
who the other person was, so that I don't drag them into it. But we used to
Wait a
have this
minute.
ongoing joke that, like, what was the hardest part about buying an Eclipse was having to tell your dad you're gay. Like what was the worst part about buying that shirt, having to tell your dad you're gay? Like, that was like our ongoing joke when like somebody had like a flaming shirt on or like a girly car or whatever. And again, like, it was a stupid little joke. We definitely didn't mean anything hateful by it, but I could understand why somebody gay would say, but you're suggesting that's a bad thing that he had to tell his dad was gay. Yeah. And so, yeah, I get it. It wasn't a nice thing to say. And I don't say it now that somebody pointed out to me that
Yeah, I don't
even
think
though
that's as good as the first one. I think that's probably worse.
maybe, yeah, probably. Sure. Yeah. And I'm saying but that's what I'm saying is all it took was somebody to say that to me. And I thought, oh, you know what? I hadn't thought about it like that. You're absolutely right. I should stop saying that. Just hadn't thought of that, right? And that's what I'm saying is there's a difference between ignorance and hate. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a difference between purposely trying to be a dick and not realizing that you're being a dick until somebody tells you. And what more can we ask of people that when somebody points it out to you, you go, oh, you're right. I'm being a dick. I'll stop. Nobody does that. Even that, like, most people can't even do that, right? But even when they do, we're angry with them. And I think that's like the most you can ask of a person is like when they don't know something and you tell them, they're immediately willing to admit that they're wrong and stop doing it. I mean, that's about as good as it gets. None of us are born perfect. You know what I mean?
I was.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, none of us were born knowing any of this shit. It's all taught to you.
Listen, my birthday is next week. When I was born back in 78,
Yeah.
the doctor was like, oh my word, is this not the most perfect birth ever? Grab the camera. Come, look at this. Look at this. This baby is perfect.
Right. Yeah.
It was like this little glow around me and everything. I spoke very eloquently, might I add. I immediately said all of my ABCs without being taught.
All right, fair enough. Right. But even if all that's true, I'm gonna give it to you. We definitely aren't born knowing what racism is and what the rules are and what's right and wrong and what we're not supposed to do and what we are supposed to do and what makes, I mean, like, that's all taught to us, right? And the very best we can do with that information is grow as we learn more, right? I mean, you're taught one thing and then you go out and you experience more and you realize that thing wasn't correct and you change yourself. And I would argue that people do that less now than they ever did. So to pick on the people that are willing to do that, I mean, you're going to get left with nobody, right? I mean, let's be fair, nobody lives up to the standards that we're setting today. The only people that aren't out there are people that you just don't know what they've done. That's the only fucking difference. Nobody lives up to that standard. It's because now it's not even, are you perfect today, which none of us are, but it's, were you perfect 20 years ago, which none of us were.
Speak for yourself, sir.
Yeah, right.
Speak for yourself, okay?
It's ridiculous.
As I said initially at the start of the podcast, I am perfect.
Mm.
Now, today, tomorrow.
Yeah.
Perfection.
What's it's you're except for you're guilty of one of the 7 deadly sins, so that would be, you know, a sign of less than perfect.
What sin is that? Am I guilty of?
Pride, my man. Pride.
No, there's a difference in pride and perfection.
Oh, okay.
True, they both begin with the letter P.
Yes,
but
I would argue a lot of
distinction.
people would suggest anybody who thinks they're perfect has a lot of pride.
I don't think that I'm perfect.
You just said you are. You know you
right,
are.
So,
is that the difference?
So it's exactly. It's not a thought.
It's a complete understanding.
Exactly.
Yeah, I got you.
Perfection.
Right. I got you. Well, I mean, a perfect person would know. So, I mean, that does back up your argument. Anyways, really quickly going back, the information that I got was that this thought theory worked, right? Lots of people have read this information, gone to classes, had these conversations, and are now, I'm not saying it's fixed. That's what you said earlier. I'm not suggesting that the guy came up with it because he thought it would fix everything. But I think the idea behind the theory is that we think about these things. Some of them might be a little far out there, right? And a lot of people aren't going to agree with them. Some are factual information that you should know is true at this point, right? And some of it's in between, right? But regardless of whether you agree with all of it or not, thinking about it and having the conversation is a good thing. And it's led to some good things. And this is where the controversy then begins, right? Because now this information has started to be assimilated, and boards of education and people that are heads of school districts and stuff have said things like, you know, some of the facts, some of the numbers in there suggest, for instance, that white kids get nominated for, higher learning projects, special classes that are going to give them a leg up. And the numbers suggest that black kids, despite being like 12% of the school population, go to detention 50%. Right? If you look at the numbers, there is institutional racism baked in there. Whether the people are purposely doing it or not, I don't know. But we can see the numbers. It's happening, right? And so schools
just figured that it's the thing to do, man.
Okay, let me finish, because I wonder maybe if you hear the whole thought that I'm about to say that we might not have.
No, go for it.
All right. So they've gone back now and are saying, maybe we should look at hiring a more ethnic diverse, what's the?
Ethnically diverse.
Right, no, that part I got, faculty, right? Because that would be better for our students. We should be looking at these numbers and seeing if we are, why that's happening, and making sure that we're not, even if we're not realizing it or are realizing it, or for whatever reason, that the right people for the right reasons are getting put in these projects, the people for the right reasons are getting in trouble, right? We need to look at why this is happening and fix that, right? All of this because of this theory and these conversations and this thought theory. It's disseminating, right? And people are talking about things they never talked about before, and looking at things in a way they've never looked at it before, which my understanding was the whole fucking point, right? And then as this starts trickling down into the school system, now all of a sudden there's a lot of flack coming from people who are saying, wait a minute, you want to have critical race theory as, affecting our school systems. And they start focusing on the higher levels of the theory that aren't necessarily supposed to be facts, but ideas of what's happened based on these facts. And they're using the most crazy, what people would consider the most outrageous and inflaming parts of the theory to come back and say, you can't bring that to my school. You want to teach my sixth grader that it's better that we're all segregated. No, nobody's saying that they want to do that, right? Oh, you want to teach my fourth grader that all white people are racist. Nobody's saying they want to do that, right? People are saying, based on these conversations, we're seeing racism baked into the system, and that's not good. And we want to go and do our part to try to fix some of those things, which is a good thing. Like, that was the point, right? And instead of focusing on what they're actually doing, they're focusing on parts of the theory that are very, inflaming, that get people all worked up, and suggesting that, like, we're going to start teaching that to kindergarten students, when I didn't see any example of that in any of the stuff I read about school districts and what they're thinking about doing. The only thing I saw at all about a change in curriculum is just a broader idea than there was slavery, there wasn't slavery, and this is what's happened in between, which is not the whole story. And I think that's smart, and we probably should be doing that. But nobody's trying to teach 8-year-olds that the system's rigged and there's no point in continuing on. I didn't see any example of that, which is what people are hot to trot about. And it doesn't seem to be what anybody's actually trying to do. But it makes people who haven't read any of this stuff really upset about the idea that critical race theory is, trickling down into our school system and might, affect their kids. And I think you're right, Dot. I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that a lot of it has to do with it doesn't paint white people in a pretty picture, and people don't like that. And they're getting upset about it for the wrong fucking reasons, though. That's what I deducted from to be fair, 3 or 4 articles that I read. I'm sure there's a ton more information out there. So if you find something I didn't read, don't hang me for it. Tell me about it and we'll talk about that. But that's what I saw. I tried to do a pretty deep, broad dive on it, not just find out what MSNBC thought about it or some shit, I looked at several sources. I didn't see any examples of what people are up in arms about. And that's the kind of shit that bothers me. Been thinking about this a lot. The reason I get so upset about the really crazy shit is that shit is out there because somebody who wanted to get more likes or make more money or gain more power decided that we're all fucking dumb enough that they could put the stupidest shit out there and people would eat it up, right? And it would cause all this controversy and they get to go on talk shows and their websites would blow up because we're all fucking dumb enough that you can say whatever stupid ass shit you want to say on the internet and it's going to go fucking crazy. And that pisses me off because, they're right. As a whole, we are fucking dumb enough to fall for that. And we are doing it all day, every day. And we're focusing all of our attention on stupid ass shit like this, when in reality, it kind of worked. It's actually doing exactly what we should all want it to fucking do, right? But instead of focusing on that, let's focus on these very specific parts of a theory that the person who wrote it doesn't even say they believe in, right? But let's focus on that and suggest that we're trying to teach that to 5-year-olds and get everybody all fucking worked up because they're all too fucking dumb to actually look to see if that's happening before they fucking get pissed off and go crazy about it. And it's everything. It's everything. It doesn't matter if it's a democratically liked idea or republicanly liked idea. It doesn't matter if it's a good idea or bad idea. Some assholes who want to take advantage of all of us do it because we're all stupid enough to fall for it. And we're doing it they're winning. We're all being morons and falling for this shit every day and not focusing on the shit that we need to be focusing on. There's a lot of bad shit going on and nothing's happening about it because we're too busy arguing about shit we're not even trying to teach 6-year-olds. What the fuck? That's it. As somebody who likes to see progress, it's utterly frustrating to see the gears of the train clogged to death with dumb, ignorant bullshit that if you took 10 minutes to look into it and used a well-educated open brain would have to determine that that's probably nonsense. You know what I'm saying? And I'm okay with the fact that I'm going to write some shit off that's true as nonsense 1 in a million times so that I can write off the other 999,999 nonsensical things. You know what I'm saying? And every once in a while that'll come back to bite me in the ass, but I'm going to make so much more progress thinking that way than focusing on all millions of things that stupid ass people say that I know is probably not fucking true. I could keep going, but I think mic drop. No, I'm just like the Russians put shit on Facebook all the time, and it's like when you know it, right? Like when you know it, when they figured it out and they tell it to you, you're like, well, we wouldn't fall for that, and we do every fucking time. Like you hear the stupid ass shit they put on the internet and think, oh, these stupid Americans who hate each other are gonna fucking eat this shit up. And then we do, because we're stupid ass Americans who hate each other. And so we fucking fall for it. It's ridiculous. And we do it every goddamn time.
Well,
use some goddamn common sense.
Keyword common.
I'm just saying most of this stuff
is sensible to the people.
It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. Like if you know, the fact that crazy shit can and has happened doesn't mean that every crazy thing somebody says is true. And we should stop. I mean, come on. People have been around for a really long fucking time now. The fact that you can point to history and give me 20 examples of some really crazy shit happening, you know, over hundreds of fucking thousands of fucking years, like that's a piece of sand on a fucking beach. You know what I'm saying? Like the majority of the time, it's just fucking sand, right? We cannot start to behave like because one grain of sand is toxic, they all are. I mean, that's just not smart thinking. And
that's literally the way that black people were painted in America.
I mean, I'm not talking about like nobody's suggesting that people should not think racism is like, that's not what I'm saying. Like, that's not the dumb shit people are talking about.
What I'm saying is what you feel passionate about, you can literally apply it to how black people have been spoken of.
Let's be fair. While black people have been treated more unfairly than anybody else's, everybody has experienced something that was extremely fucking unfair and ridiculous.
That right there is what black people scream to the top of the roof about. That always fucking happens. The minute
what is happening?
Hold on, listen, and you can rewind it, and you'll see. Victor knows where I'm going. I can see the smile on his face.
Go ahead, do it.
The moment that black people say this happened to us, we get someone else, a white person, say, "Well, it happens to everybody."
But here's the other thing.
I was actually about to say.
Yeah, now let me tell you the other side of that story.
What, Victor?
Let me tell you, I was going to say you can't say that because you're white.
Right. Let me tell you the other side of that story. Every time somebody who's white's talking about something that doesn't even have anything to do with racism, a black person throws racism in it, which doesn't even have anything to do with what I'm saying. And I have to just stop talking and say, oh, you're right. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about because I'm white.
No, give me an example. What do you mean?
Just now, I'm talking about Russians putting ridiculous shit on the internet, and you're saying that's what happens to black people all the time.
That's not what I was saying. What we're talking about was a point that you made about how run back the clip. It was you made a point.
I know what I said. Ridiculous shit has happened throughout history.
That was a headline of it, but then you went into the context of it, and there was something you said in the context of it that I was able to pinpoint out. This is exactly what happens to black people.
What I was talking about when you said that,
everyone has had bad things happen to them.
Right,
but that's not what before that.
It was. I don't think that everybody. You said something along the lines of. I don't think that one piece of sand is toxic. Like you can't judge one piece of sand when it's on the beach or something to that factor.
grain of sand is toxic doesn't mean every piece of sand on the beach is toxic.
Right. And
here's
what I
the
did
thing.
was I said
But my point,
what you just
I
said
know,
right
I
there.
know what you're saying,
This
but
is how black people are viewed in a whole.
right,
Because
but
you come across one black person that may be this way, it's
I'm not
generalized.
talking about black people. I'm talking about
I didn't say you
everybody
were. I
in
didn't say
our
you were.
country.
I didn't say you were. What I am saying is that here's a here's a legitimate example
I know it's a
of
legit.
what you feel, and I'm corroborating. I'm supporting that while also giving you a valid proof. Like, hey, look, I agree with you. And
Yeah.
you want to know something else that's sad to that factor? That very ideology applies to a lot of black people.
But here's my point.
That's
You're
all.
right.
That's all.
All right. Here's the thing. What you're saying isn't wrong, and I'm not suggesting that it's a level playing field, right? I'm not suggesting that other people understand the difference between the crazy shit, the ridiculous crazy shit that you wouldn't believe unless it was true that happens to black people at a much more ridiculous level than it happens to other people. But
Right.
I'm trying to make it on a broader standpoint that even all those examples, which there are a plethora of, right? I'm not like, however many you want to say there are, I'll multiply it by 100 and we'll just agree on that to move past it because I don't think you're wrong, right? But I'm saying even factoring those, that amount of ridiculous shit that's happened, you're still talking about, like, throughout history of time, specks of sand on a beach, right? I mean, more often than not, things are the way they appear to be. And it's not always true. And for people that look like you, even more so than everybody else. And I understand what you're saying. For somebody who has to deal with that, it could be easier to buy into crazier shit because you're experiencing it at a much higher level than other people are, I think is the point you were trying to make. And I don't disagree with you. But I think even with that being true, the majority of shit that's happening is not some crazy fucking plot that we don't know about. Like 99% of shit, more than that happens every day is exactly what it looks like. And now, and it's not like this is the first time it's happened. In the 60s, nobody believed anything that was happening, and it wasn't good for our country. Like, it didn't work out well. That time period was not a good time period for us. There are shit that happens. I'm not saying you should blindly trust everything. That's not what I'm suggesting. Having, what's that word? Where
You have more black businesses during segregation than you do now.
But that's not what I'm talking about.
No,
I mean,
I know.
that's I'm not.
I'm talking
I
about
think you're
during
right.
those times.
I think you're right. I think, look, part of the thing about critical theory is, would segregation be better for the country? I think there are arguments that in some ways it absolutely would be. Like, I don't think there is only negatives to segregation. But I gotta say, as somebody who has a wide plethora of types of friends and acquaintances and family, as somebody who is married to somebody who's not of the same racial background as me, I don't think the benefits the benefits outweigh the down. Like, I don't think what we would get from segregation would outweigh what we get from being a whole society.
So okay, so let's entertain it. Let's
Okay.
entertain it.
Critical race theory is against segregation, right?
I don't think it is. I don't think
it
it is. There's a lot of it that says, like, if we separated people out, that it would be easier on everybody, black people and white people. And they talk about putting study groups together to talk about race that are all white people and all black people. They've started talking about
they don't like the idea of integration, because the idea of
I thought you said segregation. They don't like integration.
They don't like integration.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Right.
Yeah.
Right. And let's go with it, like you said, because I think there are legit arguments to how certain things could, like, I think we do like to paint a brush about things we don't like as if because we know they're bad, there couldn't be possibly any good thing about it. I don't believe that's normally true. I mean, I would argue Germany didn't think everything was bad about Hitler, even though we like to say it is because the things that were bad were really fucking bad.
It's hard to argue that.
Right, it is. And I'm not suggesting those.
Hey, sexy American pants.
But go for it.
Hey, Vic, you gotta, you know what you gotta do? You gotta say, you want to get a roundhouse to the face with a guy wearing these? Forget about it. You think I'm a failure because I go home to Starla every night? Forget about it.
I used to take with me and some of my family took karate lessons for like I took them for like a couple of weeks. I think my brother took them for like maybe a year or so. And but my dad met a couple of the instructors and was like friends with them. We'd go and watch them fight. It was fucking awesome, to be honest with you. But one dude that fought wore this like American flag. He didn't wear a shirt, no shirt, and he had the pants of the gi, and they had the American flag on it.
Got his ass whooped, didn't he?
No, he fucked dudes up, dude.
Fucking
like,
Johnny Cage.
Yeah, dude. Damn. He was a bad motherfucker, dude. Yeah, I watched him whoop like we went to like 4 or 5 fights. He fucked every dude up at every fight.
Nice.
Maybe those guys sucked. I was 6 or something.
Fighting in Vegas. He does Brazilian jiu-jitsu.
Nice.
Or jiu-jitsu, I guess. But yeah, he got a fight coming up in Vegas around November. So
sweet.
I told him, I said, I'm not a fighter. But what I am going to do is try to hop on Amazon and order the Show Enough costume.
That's right.
Nice.
And I'm gonna wear that shit to his fight.
not the other, Johnny.
No, Show Enough, not Bruce. Not hey,
Bruce Leroy. Bruce Leroy.
Not Bruce Leroy.
God,
Show
I love
Enough.
that fucking
I'm gonna
movie
get the hair
so much,
with the ponytail.
Bruce
Leroy.
Leroy.
Glasses.
Leroy was in town about 3 years ago.
Love that movie.
To go watch it, and we got like autographs and everything. My son loves the movie.
That's a cult classic,
good movie.
man.
It's a great movie.
Great film.
Yeah. All right. So, let's deep dive.
Yeah.
Let's
entertaining.
Yeah,
it, right?
I'm down. Let's do it.
So, when you look at segregation, put it in. It's a sensitive way to put it in a form to where it's not negative to people. It's like saying we should break up.
Right.
Now,
some time apart.
We need to spend time apart. Now, here are the variables that can happen. We break up, and I'm just hoping that you just meet someone who is horrible, micro penis, tilts to the left, no money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I do not want you to meet the NBA player.
Right.
With the foot long schlong,
right?
You know, and that's a gentleman to you. I don't want that.
Right.
I want all bad to happen to you. Catch dengue fever. You know what I'm saying? Like, what the fuck?
Well, something that you can cure before you come back, for sure.
You know, and I think that when you look at the factor of segregation, you're going to have those one-offs as like, if you do that and put the people back in charge of their own success, you might see a different America, bro. And It might not be the America that some people will not like, which will, and then in turn, cause that chaos to happen again. You know, because like I said, America functioned when it was segregated. You had black doctors, you had black businesses. Because being black, you could not go to white businesses.
Yeah. Right.
So we were a self-sufficient economy, the black economy. And what happened? those lands were pillaged, people were killed, they were murdered, they were
Yep.
all types of atrocities because you're not supposed. First off, you were slaves. We're gonna let you go, okay? But if you're caught reading or doing some awesome
Right.
shit, you're going to prison.
Right.
And for the ones who don't go to prison, stay in line, get you some land. We come by and you doing some successful shit, we're gonna take your land, we're gonna kill your
Don't be
family.
successful.
Don't fucking be successful.
Sure.
Like this is kind of the way shit was handled after slavery.
Right.
To now, to where you have it now, it's like perfect. Be the consumer. Be
right.
the
Yeah.
greatest consumer of
Tommy
the
Hilfiger.
propaganda we push. And don't you dare take the black dollar out.
But people are though. I mean, the flip side of that is that isn't always what's happening. Like there are.
I have a slogan I tell people. I say black people typically, you know, these fashion designers, they don't give a fuck about us. But the brand, the name, the brand. And I was talking with some people a couple weeks ago, some of my family. I have, you know, little young hungry cats in my family. You know, they making some money, you know, money, like the shit that we work for, laughable for them. Like I bullshit you not, you know, and I'm proud of them. Do their thing. Do your thing, man. But and I was putting them youngsters up on game. They have brands. I say, well, break that letter down. You take the letter B, you take the M off of the parallel B, off of the side of the B, which is your money. You extract that from that. You extract your money from the B and brand. You now have the letter L, invest in land.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Take the R to remove the M, and what do you have left? You have land. All that money you got now, you put into these brands, remove the R is removed, break the B down, take away the two lumps, and which leaves an L, you got land. Take away from that brand and invest it into yourself. Watch what happens.
I mean, people are doing that though.
Not enough. Not when you look at not enough people are doing it, and especially not enough black people. But that goes back into the housing laws and bank loans. When was it, Victor? Y'all might be able to look into this, where you have these suburbs and things where when you wanted to get a house, you went for a loan and you would get denied based on where it was at. You know, being black. Yes, that part. You see,
Right.
so it's always been there, and even when you think of the word, I break down words a lot as far as to understand the true meaning versus what the text says. And I did that with the word suburb. Everybody wants to live out in a suburb, but black people live in the urban communities, right? You get more love in the urban communities. The key word, the prefix is the prefix is herb, suburban. So you're on a level below urban. But the way they flip it is they say no, there's more value in the suburbs versus the urban community. The use of those words is it's you can play a better game when the game is mental. Seeing is believing. So if I show you this sub life, this subterranean, suburban life, and show you the bountifulness of it, you'll be like, this is where I want to be.
What doesn't sub normally like? Isn't that? I mean,
Beneath.
It means less than. Like I would,
Less than. Beneath. Less than.
Yeah. So the problem is that we're saying that where all the white people live are less than.
No, that's what I'm saying. They took that word and inverted the value.
It turned it on its head.
They turned it on its head to make it seem like, oh, it's actually better to live there.
Oh,
But what you actually lose
I
is
don't know.
the love of the community in the urban area.
Yeah, you got to be careful though. I mean, you can find meaning in almost anything if you look hard enough for it. I mean, don't you think that the real, I mean, what the intention was of the name doesn't like. I mean, do we? Yeah, like, is there any factual information that there was that suggests that the name suburb was meant to do anything other than come up with a name for the place that people were living?
Is less urban.
Right, because
And
it
what
is, because
and,
you're
and
outside the city. I mean, it could be that simple, couldn't it? I mean, it might not be. I don't know. I'm not trying to say I do, but I've been in meetings when people have come up with names for shit, and it's typically not
pilot
that
programs. Yeah,
right. It's normally not that deep. I mean, sometimes it is, but sometimes it's like, that's a catchy name. Let's use that. You know what I mean? So
Right.
a lot of times that's how they come up with it too. I don't know. Maybe it was. I don't know. It's possible.
Just look at it. I mean,
Right.
you know what they say in the '90s: if the glove don't fit, you must have quit.
But okay, and I mean this with all due respect, I do. But like,
he's gonna be disrespectful, y'all.
yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Not. I don't want to be, but is that an example of what I'm talking about? Where if we're trying to have a discussion about whether we should actually force people to separate from ourselves in a time where, let's be fair, it's not perfect, but we've milked more than we ever have, right? I mean, we have interracial families, right? I mean, I mean, where do those people go? Which do they get to decide what
one thing
side of the
about
segregation they go to?
I can help you with that.
Black in you, you're black.
Exactly. You are what your father
not all
is.
black.
And
I mean,
black people, we will colorism is a funny thing, but black people know, like, we know the trials and tribulations that we go through, whether we're dark skin or light skin.
As somebody who is not interracial, I've also heard the opposite of that. That have, people that are half black and half white don't feel like they belong to either group.
No, they may feel that way depending on where they at.
Either one of them truly accepts them.
That can be the case in some cases. You know, I got my daughter's brother. This is when me and her mom were together. He we lived out northwest area. He was in elementary, and he is black and Hispanic. His dad was Hispanic.
Yeah, that's another question I got about it. Are we just separating black people from everybody else, or are we segregating?
Black people are within everything. We are within everything.
From a segregation level, who are we segregating?
That part I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah.
But what I am saying is, we will include our people.
Okay.
Right? So what happens?
That answers that question.
What happens is, when he was young, he was in 3rd grade, I think.
Does it matter if it's like the mom's black or the dad's black?
You technically are you are what your father is, technically.
So I'm like, when separating people out, like, do the kids, do they get to have a decision on who they go with if they're mixed race, or do they have, you know what I'm saying? Like, this, we're having to deal
based on the court system. We could do the deep dive. We go Marianas with this one. Based on the court system, it doesn't matter. They giving them to the mama. The kids go with the mama, and dad, you gonna pay this bread.
But you see what I'm getting at then. So then, like, if you're mixed race, like, it could go either way. Like, so in order to get to go,
that's what I say. I'll give it to you.
You have to be 100% black, which nobody is, right?
Check this out. I'll give it to you. I'll give it to you just like this, as the spokesperson for all black people.
Right.
Because I am perfect. No, but check it out. Technically, you are, because you are the seed of your father. If your father is black, you are black. If your father is white, you are white. Okay. Bob Marley, the perfect example. Bob Marley's white.
Okay.
His dad was white.
You
His
know, in
mom was
Judaism,
black.
it's the opposite. You're Jewish if your mom's Jewish.
Oh, I don't. That's a
That's
religion. I don't.
religion.
I don't know.
That has to do with
It's
religion,
actually
not with necessarily with race.
Is it
Judaism is
Judaism or Jewish? Is that what is
yeah,
that?
Jewish.
Jewish.
It's more.
And
I
who
think
who
most
are
people
they?
would
What is
argue
that?
being Jewish is more than just religion.
Jew or Jewish?
Same thing. I mean,
Mm,
a
is
Jew
it?
is somebody who's Jewish. I mean, that's and
No. Look at those words.
I mean,
Are you a
it's like
Jew or are you Jew-ish?
Like blackish.
That's
yeah,
my
but
guy right there.
right. I get and I
That's a
understand what you're
whole
saying,
nother, that's a whole
but
nother
that's
story
not
possibly.
what
But let's
not what the
stay on the let's stay on this factor, right? So if you are the seed of your father, you're black, but typically with black families, we don't like mistreatment of people. And when it comes to children who are mixed, people who are mixed, we are more susceptible to take them in because we have heard the stories
of what
of
black
how
men have
they're
been through.
treated
Sure.
when they are around white people.
But okay. But to my point,
They get all the jokes, the black jokes given.
right.
They get all of the Ishas and Keishas and the neck
More
rolls and all
likely
the
to get
stereotypes. And that actually hurts them a lot
sure.
because half of them is actually white. So they will identify with other white people because half of them is that way. But the treatment of them can be, a little heartbreaking to them. So we understand that. I mean, and I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes black people we have, got on mixed race people and be like, oh, well, that's the white side of you.
Right.
Like put some seasoning on your food.
Right. Well, and
But
I think from a like, and again, I'm not speaking like I've been through this myself, but what
I've raised mixed children.
what I'm
I've had the conversations with them.
right. What I'm talking about is conversations of people of mixed race who say, they don't feel like they belong to either side because they understand both sides,
Right.
both of whom don't understand each other.
Right.
And while they don't have any problem with the white side of their family or any problem with the black side of their family, maybe some of the white people that they hang out with don't like the black people they hang out with. Some of the black people they hang out don't like what some of the white people do, and they can see where both sides come from and understand it and be okay with it. And so the fact that they're okay with both makes them not whether they're accepted or not, feeling alienated by both because they have this understanding that neither side has the way they do.
Sure.
And
I
real
do
quick,
think
shout out to Marcus, shout out to Shanice's watching.
Nice.
And shout out to all our watchers. If y'all, comments, you're more than welcome to drop some comments.
Tell me how.
Join the conversation. Share it with
There's
your friends
nothing
if
you
y'all want
can't.
to.
There's nothing you can say we won't like. When like, don't feel like you can't tell me how full of shit I am, and we'll read it and talk about it.
This is that place. Talk this shit.
This is that place. Exactly.
This is cancel-free America. You can say what the fuck you want, Ryan.
Right. I was thinking about the name the other day. I love our name, but I don't know if y'all remember. I originally thought like Digital Barbershop, and I was thinking about it, and as long as we've been doing this show, I still feel like the closest thing to what we do is the way you can talk in a barbershop, and you can kind of just say whatever the fuck you want to say, and nobody's going to cancel you or hate on you too much. They might tell you how full of shit you are, you know what I mean? But you ain't typically going to get banned because you said some shit nobody agrees with. You know what I mean? Like, everybody gets to say what they want to say. Yeah, it's like a safe place. You know what I mean? It's like a safe place to say some shit. You might get called out for it, and people are gonna tell you why you're wrong. You know what I mean?
But that's the good part about it.
That's what's great about it. Yeah. That's what's great about it. Exactly.
And it's not if you and everyone that's in the comments, the new followers, if y'all want to jump in and be a part of it, let us know. We can put your face up, give you the link to the meeting, and
Yes.
join in.
Yeah.
We'll
We
have
brought a
big
guest
group.
on 2 weeks in a row just because they had some stuff they wanted to talk about. I said,
Speak your truth.
that's
Because
what we're here
it's a
for.
lot of people, as far as like your sexuality,
Yes.
your perspective. If you hate clowns, your
Yes.
baby daddy's a clown.
Right.
I don't know. Your
For
baby mama's a clown.
for the new people
You know what I'm
listening
saying?
in, the whole
If the earth is flat,
exactly. Look, for people who are listening, what my theory on the show is we owe a gratitude to anybody who's willing to come on, tell us what they honestly think, and have an honest conversation about it, whatever that is, whether we agree with it or like it or not. If you're willing to come on and tell us what you think and why, we're grateful and appreciative of that, because that's what my theory is. The diversity that we're seeing now that I think is different. Look, there's always been diversity, right? Let's be honest with you. It's not like we were some one person 10 years ago. That's ridiculous. We obviously have always had issues, right? But it seems like lately what's broken down is this is people feeling okay to say something and not be crucified for it, right? And
let me ask you, Adam.
how do you
Yes,
grow at all if you can't have that conversation and have people? I'm sorry, give me 1 second.
No, go ahead. You go.
If you can't say something that you've been feeling or thinking for legitimate reasons, right? And then be able to have a back and forth with other people that have other points of view and knowledge and informations and perspectives that can say, like, I see where you're coming from, but have you thought about this? Are you aware of this? Have you, and bounce ideas off of you that might give you a broader way of thinking that might change your mind. Maybe not, right? But like, that's how we grow, and we don't do that anymore because we're afraid we're going to say something and everybody's going to hate us for it. That's the opposite of what we're trying to do here. Right? Exactly. Say what you're going to say, man. I didn't mean to cut you off.
I was just saying. I don't know if y'all want to look into, maybe off record. If you were looking at the name, the Speak Your Truth or Talk Your Shit. I mean, there's
if you want to post something and you don't want us to say that who it is that's saying it, that's okay. Just tell us type it in there that you'd rather us not reference you. If you want to use
I'm gonna reference you. No,
yeah, however you want to do it, whatever you feel comfortable with, we're cool with. That's not a problem. So yeah, absolutely. However you want to do it.
Comment. I need to get some more fancy apple juice. One moment.
That's the whole point of the show. We want people to come on and say what they have to say. Disagree with us. I mean, the show's called Positively Disagreeable for a reason. Come on and tell us what.
Disagree with us either.
No, it's not. It's not. I take some hard line ideas. You can disagree with me all day. No, for real, that's what we want. We want to have the conversation. We want other people to hear us have the conversation and know it's okay to do that. We want to have the conversation because I want my mind to grow and become more enlightened and understand more things, as well as hopefully growing other people's minds at the same time. So we definitely want people to do that.
Yeah.
And feel free to post if you're not watching the show live. Feel free to post whenever you watch it, and we will bring up comments from previous shows. In fact, make sure that we take that there are some posts from last week's show that would probably be a perfect example of how people will post how much they disagree with us.
I gotta go back and check out last week's show when y'all decided to have a critical race.
And that wasn't the only. For what it's worth. Yeah, no, do. I don't think most of the comments.
I feel like Terrence Howard in the first Iron Man. No, man, you want to change me, man, and bring in Don Cheadle?
Hey, man, on a lighter note, real quick, has anybody noticed? And I say this with
that they changed Aunt Viv in the Fresh Prince from light skin to no.
Yeah. I watched the reunion show. I didn't know anything about. Except that I learned a lot watching that reunion. But no, look, what I was going to say is and I couldn't be happier about it. Let me be clear about my stance on this before I say it. Have anybody noticed that Peacock has become the Kevin Hart network?
Yeah, saw that. Yeah.
And it's fantastic. I love it all. I watch it all.
I don't know what it is.
Kevin Hart has a show called Heart to Heart, which is great. He interviewed. It reminds me a lot of Letterman has a show on Netflix. He didn't want to do another show, and Netflix kept asking him to do something. He was like, I don't want it. And they were like, do whatever, like, we will pay you money and you do whatever the hell you want it. We don't care what it is. If it's you, we'll do it. And he was like, okay. And so he does this show and he interviews like, I don't know, 5-6 people a year, a season, and they're just people he wants to, like, it's like if he can't find somebody he doesn't want to interview, there can be months between episodes. And then
Kevin Hart?
No, Letterman, right? And he's done like
The Next Guest or something.
He had Obama on, he had Jay-Z on, he had Howard Stern on. Like, it's just people he finds interesting that he wants to talk to, that he respects. And that's just what he does, right? Heart to Heart is kind of the same. It's not the same thing, first of all, because it's Kevin Hart, so it's not going to be the same show. But it's kind of the same thing in the sense that it's not a scripted, like most talk shows. I don't know, probably most people know this, but like every question they ask, it's all rehearsed, right? Like they give the
surprises.
They give the questions to the guests. The guests say, hey, I want to talk about this. Ask me about this, right? They plug their show. I mean, that's the whole point of.
I want to have OJ on there. Ask real questions.
The whole point of the talk show of the talk show format really is for the people coming on to promote their shit, right? And then the show gets to have a guest on, right? But that's not what he like. It's not scripted. They have no idea what he's going to ask. He doesn't do any research. He brings them on, they drink wine, and he just talks to the person and tries to have an interesting conversation and get to know him. And it's great.
Like drink champs.
Yeah. And Kevin, I mean, I don't know how everybody else feels about Kevin Hart, but that dude, like, I think if we like,
He's a funny guy. He's a funny guy.
He's funny. He's hilarious. And he's not one of those people. I don't know him. I get the sense he's not one of those people that has to like turn it on. I think that's just who he is. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I think when he's at home with his wife, he's just as funny as he is anywhere else. I think he's just like, can't not be funny. The dude cracks me up so much. The show's great. He has another show where I can't remember the name of this one. He interviews athletes in an ice bath. I don't know
I've
why.
seen something to that.
Does it in an ice bath? Other than it's funny because he's always like trying not to sit in it, and like he has his legs up, and then he like it's good comedy. But the show's great. It's funny because he's funny. And then, did y'all see him and Snoop do the Olympic? It's like Olympic highlights. It's the greatest thing I've ever. All right, maybe not, but I mean. I didn't know about this until after the Olympics. I found it yesterday or the day before. I watched them all straight through. I couldn't stop watching. It's the funniest shit.
It's on Peacock?
Yeah, Snoop I've always thought is funny, but I'm telling you, with Kevin Hart, he's 10 times funnier. Like, I don't know if he got funnier and then they're also good but I'm telling you, it's the best. I love Snoop. Like, it's not like I didn't like him before. This is the best shit I've ever seen him do, like, hands down. They are so funny together. And the dudes
are Family Feud.
They're like making fun of people, like that, like, like if they wipe out, or like when they did the opening, like one of the countries comes out, it like everybody's black, and there's one dude like off to the right, and he's dressed like, I mean, he's like part of the group, but he's not in formation. And he looks like a 40-year-old overweight white dude. And they're like, who the fuck is this guy? Like, is he like
from accounting?
Is he escorting him out or something? Where the fuck did Steve come from? Like, they just like, dude, like,
God damn it, Chad, what are you doing?
Exactly. They're like cussing, and like there was one event where the two guys decided to share the medal instead of like keep going and they're like, our dog, and like, who the fuck shares a medal? Like, you're supposed to find out who the best is. I don't want to know who the top 2 best guys are. You know what I mean? Like, this shit is so funny that they're watching the equestrian shit, you know, where the horses like do the dancing and shit. And they're watching it, and Snoop Dogg's like, "Oh shit, that horse is crip walking in the Olympics. What the fuck?"
I gotta check that out.
Oh my god, dude, I can't do it justice. Obviously, I'm not those two people. They were fucking amazing, dude. I would watch Peacock needs to find another show for them to do together because I would watch that every fucking day for the rest of my life. They cracked me up the whole time, dude. This shit is so funny, man.
The OG Snoop getting his money, cuz.
Yeah. And
Oh,
Kevin Hart, man.
When does never stop getting money?
When does Kevin Hart stop working? Like, that's what I want to know. Like, does he sleep?
I went to his concert, his comedy show he had. He's pretty funny.
So funny. I mean, he deserves it. I don't have anything bad to say about that, man. I think he's funny. He seems like a nice guy. He's not like overly PC. I mean, like, he's just like a normal, really funny motherfucker. Like,
him and The Rock are hilarious too.
Oh God, yeah.
Movies together.
Yeah, dude.
I just watched Fast 9 last night on the wall at the crib.
Which one?
Fast 9.
Oh, he is in that for a minute, right? Like
The Rock.
No,
Kevin Hart's not in it.
No, which is the one? What's the movie where they're like where he's on the airplane? It's not.
Plane?
No. It's like he's on it with two like guys that are like agent.
It's called FBI, I think, or something like that.
No, not the one with him and The Rock, where The Rock is in the CIA. It's like one where it's like two spies, and he's like an air marshal or something, and he's like trying to get in on it. Like, come on, guys, I can help you out. I'm like really good. I know all the and they're like, yeah, all right, whatever, man. I can't. It's like a cameo. He's only in it for like 5 minutes, and then they like call him later on to get him to look up some shit, and he's like in the bathroom on his laptop.
Yeah, no, I don't know.
Anyways, doesn't matter. It's funny. But yeah, the one with The Rock where he's a CIA agent, I think that one's funnier than Jumanji is. Like, they're fucking hilarious with each other in that shit.
Especially The Rock, because like he acts kind of like goofy and extra nerdy or whatever. He's like wearing I don't know. I think it was like a unicorn shirt or something. Oh man,
right. Kevin only knows him as the dorky guy from high school that like got pantsed, or did he pants him?
I saw the jungle cruise yesterday too. That's pretty funny.
Right. And it was Kevin Hart who pantses him?
No, he like is nice to him, gives him his jacket, and like helps him cover up.
Okay. All right.
That's why The Rock thinks they're best friends.
It's Hobbs and Shaw. See, I knew he was in one of them. It's not actually Fast and the Furious.
I've never watched that one.
But they're like, the two badass. It's The Rock and Stamos.
I was binge watching Once Upon a Time, so I don't miss it.
Gotcha. Central Intelligence
is the one we were talking about. Yeah,
that's good.
I'm telling you,
how y'all feel about these vaccines?
So that's what got the feedback last week. So I mean, we can do it. If you want to piss off some listeners, let's get into it.
Let's get pissing. Cue the R. Kelly.
Hey, somebody bring him up. Shit, let me see if I can find it real quick.
Let's get pissing.
Let me find comments from last week. Let's start, since we're gonna do it anyways. Let's start by reading how pissed off people were at me last week about what I think about vaccines, right?
What do you think about vaccines, Adam?
I think people should go get vaccinated. I think the fact that they're not getting vaccinated is causing a big, huge problem for the rest of us, and I'm kind of getting tired of it.
Them non-vax,
survival of the fittest.
Them non-vaxxers spreading germs.
The low end of the gene pool.
I didn't say any of that. Let's not make people hate me more than they already do, please.
That was your intentions.
View 32 more.
Because they're not vaccinated, they're putting germ-based air out into society.
No, that's not my argument, to be fair.
It was because they were not getting vaccinated. They're killing other people.
Yes.
Other people.
I think they're spreading it, right? I think they're spreading it, and I think it's spreading at a rate.
How are they spreading it, Adam?
by not getting vaccinated and catching
So
it
so so
and allowing
so
it to
the
spread.
vaccinated people so the vaccinated people are perfectly good humans,
No,
and the non-vaccinated people have all these diseases in them, and when they breathe out diseases.
no, that's definitely not what I'm saying.
No. Well, how's it
Uh,
spread today? Is it a
I
touch? Is it
believe
a
it
kiss?
was
Is
that
it a
he hates
lick?
all
I don't think
vaccinated
me
people.
saying that people who aren't vaccinated are causing it to spread more than it would means what you're saying. I am saying that not getting vaccinated is allowing the virus to stick around. It's allowing the virus to mutate,
Uh-huh.
and it's allowing there to continue to be a much larger problem than there would be if we got vaccinated. And I would argue that history of us having a virus come out that causes a problem, creating a vaccine for it, and us all getting vaccinated and then not really having to deal with that virus anymore are examples throughout history that that is true. That there's and I said this, I want to be clear because I'm going to get to these comments. That's the Matt Damon movie, the talented, because he
The
commented
comments? I don't see comments.
on
Oh, that was
last
from
week.
last week. Okay, no, never mind. I'm looking at this one.
Okay, so here's this is what I was just about to talk about. So Bullet, who comments all the time, and
What's
normally
up, Bullet?
how wrong I am, but we love you, Bullet. Listen, comment, keep telling me how wrong I am. We appreciate you participating.
Bullet's watching right now.
Good, good.
They
You know, the point is to get some people on here that aren't going to agree with us. So thank you. I know you and I often don't agree on stuff, but that doesn't change how much I appreciate you listening and commenting. Okay. Okay. So the first comment, I'm pretty sure after we went off and stopped reading the comments, or at least the first one we didn't notice. I don't know but it says, you keep saying nothing is guaranteed, yet you're still saying everyone has a responsibility to society to get it. It doesn't go both ways. You don't get to decide for others that they should do or make them a villain if they don't agree. So, couple things. First of all, um, saying that I think people should get vaccinated and stating that based on what is being presented as scientific information, I don't think I'm not making people a villain. I'm pointing out that based on science and math, what we've known to be true is that when this happens and we all go get, all the people who are physically in a condition to where they can go get vaccinated, history shows that that works. And we've done it so many times in the past, right? These things pop up. We often don't realize it because it's far enough apart that often for most people, it's the first one they've ever dealt with. All right. It's far enough apart that lots of people only ever deal with one, some people none, depending on how long their lifespan is. Right. But this is nothing new. Like, this has happened, and not just in the United States, like over and over and over again. Like, scientists will tell you when there isn't one, it's only a matter of time until another one happens. And every time this has happened, science has developed a vaccine. We've taken the vaccine and we've put it in the except this time. This is the first time that there's been this kind of pushback against vaccination as a whole. Now, am I saying it's the first time like that every single person can get vaccinated? No. First of all, there are people who aren't healthy enough to get vaccinated. That's always been true, right? And I'm sure that there are people that just didn't even know they should have, but not anywhere at this level or on this precedence has this happened before. And surprisingly enough, it's the first time we've had a vaccine that everybody could go get, had the ability to give it to everybody, and it didn't just quickly go away after that happened because everybody didn't go get the vaccine. I think the fact that this is something that we accepted so long ago and have seen such remarkable results from, it bothers me that this time, when we're smarter and more educated than we're like turning our back on math and science and saying, I don't care about any of that. I just don't like it. I don't want to do it. That bothers
What are the results that we're seeing?
throughout throughout history,
No, I'm
we've
saying with
developed
this
the
virus,
vaccine,
what are the results that we're seeing?
that it's amping back up again, that people are catching it. The numbers are rising and rising. Hospitals are filling back up again. There's
Right.
variants now that the vaccine works against, but not as good as it did against the original one. And here's the thing. Variants happen as it passes, right? It doesn't mutate in the person who has it. Like it mutate when somebody passes it, then that person has the possibility of it mutating, right? But if before it had mutated, people had gone out and gotten vaccinated, there's a really high likelihood that we wouldn't be seeing these mutations and wouldn't be dealing with them, and people wouldn't have to deal with the fact that even people who have been vaccinated now are at a much higher risk of catching it than they were before, and at a higher risk of it having, like before when you had the vaccine, you could get it, but it would just be like a cold, right? Now, if you catch one of the variants, that still might happen, but it's much more likely that you'll have a more full-on COVID experience than you would have before the vaccine is. Now, really quickly, because I just want to get the whole comment thing down, and then you all guys can comment on it. When you say that you can't say that there's not a guarantee and that everybody should do it, one of the things that we talked about for a very long time last week was that nothing has a guarantee. So yes, I think you can say, even though there's not a guarantee, you should do it, because if you think anybody should do anything, you're saying they should do something that doesn't have a guarantee, because nothing has a guarantee. You do not get 100% guarantee with anything. So then it becomes how big of a risk it is. And the numbers, and I know one of the comments down, you don't believe some of those numbers. I don't know I don't know how to debate that, but if you believe the numbers, it would suggest that this vaccine is unbelievably safe. The amount of people having bad reactions to it, we looked it up last week, was 0.0019%. And that was how many people who had died that had gotten the vaccine, not how many people had died from the vaccine. Just how many people who had died who have gotten the vaccine. That some of those people died in car crashes, who got shot, who had a heart attack that had nothing to do with the vaccine. Certainly, I'm sure some of those people, it was a reaction to the vaccine, and we don't know how many it is. But even if you look at it as all of them did, that is an unbelievably, like, so many things we do every single day that have such higher risks than that we don't even think about, and that don't have massive impacts on society as a whole for the next God knows how long, and we do those without any worry at all. That's why I feel like I can say people should get the vaccine. Now, I'm not going out there and putting guns to people's heads or anything. So, I mean, I just think that we should do what we've always done, because the results of what we've done have been really good in the past, and science is better than it's ever been.
But they can't rid this virus.
Well, to be fair, we're not doing what they're telling us to do to make that happen. So I don't know if you say, Dot, I can save you from splatting on the concrete. All you got to do is not jump off the bridge, and then you jump off. Is it my fault I didn't stop you from splatting on the concrete, or is it your fault for doing the thing I told you not to do?
I have a superhero landing.
Okay.
The 3-point landing?
Yes, that's what I have. I practice it. I do it every day getting out of the bed.
Yeah, I'm just saying, if we were with the scientists and say, how can we get people to stop dying from gun violence? And they said, get rid of guns. And we didn't. We couldn't very well say, why didn't you fix the problem? Like, they know how to fix it. We just don't want to do it.
You want to know what'll happen?
It doesn't matter.
People will, it does matter, see?
Not for the point I'm making.
I know, of course not. But for conversation,
yeah,
you'll have more knife violence.
Right, sure.
You'll have more other or gun death violence, or
And
you
we've
have
had
more
this
bow and
debate,
arrow.
and I
Like
think
so
some people
that's the
agree with it.
variant.
Right.
This virus is gonna do what it's gonna do. It's here. That's it.
I don't.
We can make our own. We can sit around and point blame and
But that
do this and do that while the virus is just having a fucking field day with people.
okay. But the difference
If
between
that
that
makes us
analogy,
if that makes us better human or feel better as humans to point the finger and blame, then so be it.
now
But it's
it's
not
not.
gonna stop this motherfucker from spreading and mutating and doing what a virus
History
does.
suggests otherwise. History suggests otherwise. We have been able to tame viruses over and over and over and over and over again with vaccines. It's the
Okay,
reason why your kids get
so hold on.
vaccinated.
So hold on. If we've been able to do that, were there points in time where some people did not get vaccinated? Because I'm pretty sure there were points in time
Nope,
where people didn't get vaccinated to where
not like
those
this. Nope,
viruses.
nope.
No, the actual
Everybody in
government-
America.
Yeah, like the
Wait
government
a minute, that
said
nobody,
you have to get a vaccine.
and people
In
did
all
it.
previous occasions, the government
And no.
actually said you have to get a vaccine.
And not every single person in America, but that's the thing. It doesn't have to be every single person in America. It has to be more than 50% of people, though. And
And
no,
so
More
how
than
many
50?
people have the vaccine?
It's up more than 50.
how much?
How many people have the vaccine?
Oh crap.
It's not enough.
No, because
And
now
then-
they want it up to like 80%.
And then on top of that, where did this variant start? The first case of the variant, where was it detected?
I can't looking up.
We're up at 51% of the population that's fully vaccinated.
There you go.
51.2.
So, but
And
so
Which actually
51.2.
looks good because that's of the total population. That's not, and like kids can't even get it. So that's really good.
Kids could get it. My nephew has it. He's 3 years old.
no, you
Bro,
is
Still
somebody
He
who
was
has
literally in the hospital last week, 3 years old with COVID.
Yeah.
no the
No,
vaccine.
no,
You can't get the vaccine.
Oh,
You have to
yeah.
be
So he
you have to
just
be 12
he-
or older to get it. Is what so what got it?
so that's interesting. So he just has to deal with the same virus that adults have to deal with no hope of a vaccine, even
No.
though kids can. Hold on. So
not.
let's look at that for a
But the-
second. Hold on.
Real quick before you deep dive. That's
It
not
wasn't
what's
a deep dive. I was gonna splash in the 4 feet.
all right. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So
They're working on a
You-
vaccine for kids.
so-
It's just not out yet.
they're working on one for kids.
Yeah, it
We
hasn't been
do
approved.
know kids can now get this virus.
They've always known that, just not as
Right.
often. Right.
They've always known it.
Yes. They've
So
always been
if
working on this
every
stuff.
adult gets vaccinated, it's the kids that are spreading it.
That's what they're worried about. They're actually worried that because the adults are getting vaccinated, that now it's going to mutate further into a virus that attacks children.
Right, which it is attacking children because they're still human people. So it's
Right.
not about the non-vaccinated people that are causing variants to pop up.
Variants
It's
aren't.
the
It's not
the
because of the
kids
children.
that they
It's not
can't
because-
get-
But it's not
Oh.
because the
It's-
percentage of children that get infected. It's not. It's just not. I mean, that's just not
Well, it's growing now. It's growing now. The first
right.
So-
But
iteration.
So it was
But do
only
we-
this virus only attacked 18 and up, and everybody it only attacked adults, and the adults that did not get vaccinated are the reason there's a variant. We ain't even looking
Yes.
at the kids spreading it, right?
because it's not because of the kids.
But
They
the
are
kids,
looking at the kids. They
but
are
the
looking
kids, the kids have
infected
the
and how much-
virus too. They get affected by the virus too, right?
right
Now
now at
they
a
do.
much lower percentage. It's
But a
like,
kid, so
but that's not. I mean, we
a
know
kid,
like
a kid can have the virus,
you don't have to
give it
theorize.
to an
They
adult.
have the
And-
information.
right? So a kid can have the virus
Yes.
and
And can
spread it
pass
to
it
an
on
adult,
if they yes.
and that kid can't get vaccinated regardless.
Correct.
Okay, all right.
Okay, now let me tell you about science because
Well, that's what science is saying. It's not.
no,
the,
it's
not.
not.
The
You're
adult.
leaving out very key and very important parts to this.
What is it? What is
that-
it for? What is it?
there's something, people like to use the word herd immunity a lot, except they use it incorrectly most of the time. And they say it as if we just let everybody get sick, then people would stop getting sick because we'd all be immune to it, which is not what herd immunity is in science. Herd immunity is when a large enough percentage of the population gets vaccinated, then it protects the people who can't get vaccinated, because so few people can get it and transfer it that it is unlikely for even the people who are vaccinated to get it. But when 50% of the population can get it and spread it, then it's a much bigger problem. And we know this to be true because there are lots of vaccinations that people of a certain age or medical condition and so forth can't get. And yet when 85, 90% of the population goes and gets the vaccine, those people don't get sick either, because there is a blanket of protection around them with all the people that are vaccinated. And again, we know this to be true because it's happened time and time and time again. Every time we come out with a vaccine, there are a percentage of people that can't get the vaccine. And as long as the majority of the rest of us go and get it, the disease fades out into the darkness and it pops up every once in a while, which is not something we need to, like, I'm not worried about somebody, about 20 people getting COVID a year. Like, that sucks, but like, people die of car accident. Like, when it's a reasonable number of people, that's just life, right? But this is not reasonable right now. Yes, go ahead.
Ask a question?
Sure.
If we've been paying attention this whole time to this virus, and the non-vax people, right? Saying that the non-vax people are causing this virus to mutate, when in fact we've had younger people holding the virus, allowing the virus to mutate within their system.
Who said that? Nobody's saying that, but you.
Hear me out.
Okay.
Okay. Look at the path. If you have a set of people, and don't listen to interrupt, listen to understand what I'm saying, right?
Go ahead.
If you have an age range 18 to 50.
It's not 18, it's 12.
I didn't say, I'm just saying, it's not
Go ahead.
Let me finish. Let's say this virus attacks humans. Right now, we know it attacks humans age of whose balls have dropped, 18 to 50.
More often.
Half of those, more often than not. It's hypothetical.
I'm just saying, kids have always been able to get it. That's always been a thing, just not as often. Go ahead.
So therefore, if these people 18 to 50, half of them have the vaccine, the other half don't.
Mm-hmm.
We're now saying, hey, you other half of the people that don't have it is causing this vaccine to mutate. This virus to mutate within you. When in actuality, this same virus is actually in kids and just having a fucking field day.
It's not having a field
and
day.
Mutating, but we're not looking at that variable.
Yes, they are.
Well, they are not. Yes, they are now, because kids are catching it now.
No, they have from the very beginning. Look, as somebody who
but hold on,
too young to get vaccinated, I've been watching the information.
Okay, you've been watching information. So if they are too young to get a vaccine,
yes,
but they are not too young to have the virus, that then tells you that the virus, even if all the adults got the fucking vaccine, this motherfucker can still mutate inside of kids because they don't have the fucking vaccine.
Okay, so I listened to everything you said. Did you listen
understand what I mean, Vic?
Do you understand anything I said before you said that, though?
But what the deal is that for the first year that the virus was out, it attacked children at a very, very small amount. And I'm talking minuscule as far as percentage goes. It was less than 1%.
That's when
easily
we found
for
out
the
what it
first
was.
year.
We were telling everybody they
Now,
had a
in the
respiratory
last
infection
in the
back in
last like month,
2019.
it's up to 2%.
which is 2%, not a
So let
bunch
me
of
ask you
them.
this question. Let me ask you
2%.
this. So let me ask you this question, Adam.
Yeah,
Is it the 18 to 50 non-vaccinated people, the ones that cause this virus to mutate to where now kids get it?
I think
That's what they're saying.
what I'm saying. Let me be really clear, because there
So
is some.
hold on.
Well, you
So
asked the question? I'm trying to answer.
okay. But Victor said that's what they're saying. Remember, I
I'm-
just gave that number, age 18 to 50. You
But
have
what
50-50.
the answer is more specific than that. It's not. It's first of all, it's not 18 to 50.
I don't know the age. I'm just
I'm
giving
gonna
an
tell
example.
you, it's
Okay.
you can get the vaccine at 12.
Okay, 12 to 50, half and half.
People much older than fit. My mom got the
80.
vaccine. She's in
Okay,
her
bro,
70s.
the number is I'm just it's shits and giggles
But it's
from
not
ages
because it's
from
not
ages
because.
25 to 26. I don't give a shit.
But those
What I'm
numbers
saying,
make a huge difference. So
I
you can't.
understand. I
If it's
understand
only
it make a huge
people
difference.
of a 5-year age group,
I'm not
that's
talking about that number. I'm not talking about I'm not talking about the importance of the number.
well, it's a very important factor. So ignoring
Okay.
it is
Okay.
a false
Let's not
argument.
ignore it. Let's
Okay.
not ignore it. Let's say,
You're
what
just
is
talking
it?
about a
12,
group.
12 to 80. I'm talking about the group. We have
The group
51%
that
of
have
people.
have been able to get the disease.
Right.
Right. So what I'm saying is there you have an age group of from 12 to 80 years old who can get the virus.
Get the
Half
vaccine.
get the who can well every
Oh,
well
who are likely to get sick? Is that what you're saying?
That's what he's
no
saying. Yeah, that's
listen to
he's
what
trying
I'm
to say.
saying.
Okay,
What I'm
anybody
saying
anybody, those are different numbers. So like
what I'm
anybody
saying is
over
you
the
got
age of like
51% of people.
18 is really likely to get it if they get in contact with it.
You got people that have the virus, right?
Yes.
50% of those people
Got
are vaccinated. The other 51%, the other 49 percent are
No.
non-vaccinated,
Right.
right?
Right.
So the other 49%, they're the walking dead. They're the zombies. They're the host that's
Yeah.
causing this virus to mutate,
Right.
right?
Right.
The whole time.
Well,
Kids
no,
have had this. Hold on. The whole
okay.
time, kids have had the same virus,
Right.
but they can't get vaccinated.
Well,
Right.
So what?
let's-
So therefore,
not all kids, like a very
not
small
all kids
percentage
get don't
of kids.
10 kids. Fuck
Okay.
it,
All right.
8 of them.
Okay. All right.
It doesn't matter. They're
It does.
still human beings. They're not fish.
Right. Okay.
We're talking about humans.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
So if 8 or 10 kids, however many, can catch the same virus that the adults can, the only difference is that they can't get vaccinated. That virus now has a perfectly good host to mutate in
Yes.
and spread to adults. So
Excel.
it's
That's
technically not the 49% of adults that
It
can
is.
cause this. Is actually the kids because most adults are around kids.
Okay.
Teachers, kids.
Now let me respond to that.
Grocery
'cause
stores,
I
kids.
understand
Kids are around more kids and they hang out with their parents.
we don't have to spend 10 more minutes because I understand the point that you're making. Now, let me tell you, there is a difference between using logic to figure out what would happen based on logically what you think would happen, and then using scientific information to determine what we know happens in these situations based on the fact that they've happened before and we've dealt with it before. And the facts are every time one of these viruses has happened and we've created a vaccine for it, there has been a percentage of people who were capable of catching the virus, but could not get the vaccine. And by the rest of us getting it,
like
we
the flu.
And here's the thing, I want to be clear. I'm not saying like measles, they haven't been completely eliminated. They've been cut down to a number that makes it something that you're almost never going to have to worry about dealing with, and to a number where we don't have our hospitals flooded with more patients that they could deal with. where our economy isn't not being able to build microchips for cars and people can't buy the cars that they want to buy, where you're not going to fast food restaurants and seeing signs where they say you have to pay with correct change because there's a shortage in coins in our country because we don't have enough people to make them, right? When we go out and all the people who can, the majority of the people who have the ability to get the vaccine, the number gets cut to something we can deal with as opposed to what it is right now. And when it's that smaller group of people, it's not transferring from person to person often enough for there to be a likely scenario of it mutating, because the more it mutates, I mean, the more it gets transferred, the more likely it is to mutate into something else. If it's being able to be transferred to, millions of people, the likelihood of it mutating is like multiples and multiples and multiples and multiples and multiples higher than it is when it's a group of like 10, it's not 10. I mean, when you have 1 million people that aren't vaccinated, they can catch it and spread it, or 150 million people who can catch it and spread it, the likelihood of there being a variable goes down to almost nothing. Not nothing, because there's no guarantees, which I've said over and over again, right? It's math, it's likelihoodness, it's odds, right? We're playing the odds, and the odds say that if we do this, we are much more likely to be better off than if we don't do it. Yes, it's always possible that 100 years from now, the vaccine could cause people to grow a third arm. Like, we never know what's going to happen 100 years from now. Like, we never know that. But we know, based on history and every time we've dealt with this before, that the best possible way to deal with it is what they're trying to do, and we're not letting them do.
Right. You said that. But here's the thing. Who says we're not letting them do it? Because we weren't around during history. You can only collect the data and go off the propaganda or the information that was told.
I mean, so we can end the argument with I just don't believe it, and there's nothing I can do.
So the kids aren't spreading the virus.
Yes,
not enough for it to be the problem. If we
just
could vaccinate,
only the listen to
I
how
understand
that
what you're.
sounds. Like, listen to how that sounds. It may be true, but you have to consider every possible variable, bro. That's a part of science.
The thing is,
you can't just be on a political rant
you're
saying
right,
that,
but you also,
it's the 49% of the non-vaxxers that's causing this thing to mutate.
If you want to look at every possible scenario, it's also only fair to look at the likelihood of that scenario. Because if what you're talking about is a 1 in a million chance, and what I'm talking about is like a 95% chance, then what the fuck are we talking about?
Okay,
a chance.
So he's actually right. God is right. The kids could be transferring it.
I'm not saying that. I mean, that's not my argument.
So it's only 2%, so it's more likely that it's the ones that are unvaccinated. Not only that, the ones that are unvaccinated actually have made a decision not to get the vaccines, which the kids don't have that decision to make. The kids have no choice right now.
And we're putting them at a much higher risk by not getting vaccinated. People
approved. So they're trying to get that approved.
Our youngest, most innocent people who can't protect themselves are at a much higher risk because people who can are choosing not to.
Correct.
But that's a different perspective. You can look at that, but that's not necessarily the case. But that's not necessarily the case because.
But it is.
They're at a higher percentage because they can't. There's not a vaccine that's gone.
You're trying to just like logically come up with an idea in your head.
I'm not trying to logically come up with an idea. I'm just telling you, like, common sense will tell you.
But this isn't science. Science doesn't always follow. No. Science doesn't always follow common sense. You can't always use common sense. Common sense does not always pan out to be true. We know that to be a fact.
So then, fact this, right? Room full of kids, 15 kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
One vaccinated person, one non-vaccinated person. No, 2 vaccinated people, 2 non-vaccinated people.
Okay.
None of the adults have the virus. All these little kids have the virus. We know that they have the variant is attacking kids. Now, when one of these 4 people, 2 adults with, 2 adults without, catches the virus that came from the kids, how do you fight that? How do you argue that point? Because that is a
you're arguing the scenario I'm arguing against. What I want is for the parents to be vaccinated, not half of them not to be.
Right, but the parents can be vaccinated. What I'm saying is that your point is it's the adults who are causing
it's the people who aren't vaccinated.
Yes, it's the adults that
Right.
are not vaccinated
and
causing the variant to grow
right.
when the whole time these kids can have it and be
and you know what's interesting about this is like people who have studied this as their life job, like people who've gone to college, read, tested.
You want to give you something even deeper? I have a coworker whose husband works on the DNA of this a coworker whose husband works in a lab on the DNA to try to come up with the vaccine.
Okay.
I talked with her yesterday. Okay. Friday at work.
Okay.
So I know just
what did she say? And she said I'm wrong about all this, right? Is what you're going to say? Because otherwise, then why bring it up? I mean,
because I'm telling you, I have.
Do you know some smart people? What the fuck does that mean?
You have insight. I have insight too, and I'm telling you, like common sense, logic would have told you, like, wait a minute, hold on. You have a point that you're saying. But
I'm not using logic. I'm using the smartest people in the industry who all agree with me, by the way. And
they all of them agree with you.
Who gives a shit what they think? Dot, who knows nothing about this, has used an idea in his head to come up with why they're all wrong. So let's just forget what they all know.
Ask those people. Could it be possible the kids are spreading it? Simple question.
It is possible. I'm not saying it isn't. That possibility doesn't change what I'm saying.
That the non-vaccinated people are the reason?
Yes.
Wait, so kids can get it, but kids get it at a very small rate.
So they're not passing it the way adults are.
And 1 child that gets it. So if it's 99 unvaccinated people that get it to 1 child, the greater probability of it being a variant produced is going to be that it's from the adults,
who are like 35% likely to get it if they're exposed to it, which is 35 times more likely, which in math, like 80% more is massive. This is 3,500 times, like percent more, 3,500% more likely.
Watch what I'm going to show you, right? School's about to start. I know.
We're not going to get. If all it comes down to is what you think, then there's no
my daughter's vaccinated
anymore.
My daughter's vaccinated, right? School's about to start.
Okay.
They're going to school now, right? All the kids who can't get vaccine in elementary, what's the age? 12, right? 12 and under.
Yeah, 12. Yeah.
Under 12, you can get it when you're 12.
Okay, so all the elementary schools,
right,
are hotbeds of snot, pee, and COVID.
Sure. Right. Okay.
Now,
so they were last year too.
You have faculty, of course. But they were doing remote learning. They're doing remote learning.
No, they weren't. No, they weren't. Texas schools were open last year. My wife teaches in them. They had students in them last year.
Last year they did.
Last year.
School was out. They were doing remote learning last year.
Some were. Most of them were in classes. I know. I mean,
there was a lot of them that were remote learning.
A lot of people chose, and it depends on what state you were in. Texas opened public schools. I know because we were pissed when it happened.
They did, but they didn't open as scheduled. They waited
like 3 weeks after the regular date to open up, and then it took like 3 more weeks to get all the kids in. So it took 6 weeks before.
You mean 2020 last when they sent everybody home during spring break?
School just started right now. The year before that,
September.
There was only like 6 weeks at the beginning of that school year in
Right.
Texas where
Right.
all public schools were not open for any kid who wanted to
Right.
go in and do class in public.
Right.
And some did it.
And
Mine did
then
it.
and then
But
a couple months after,
lots of them did.
yeah,
Lots and
and then they
lots and
allowed them
lots
to
of
go
them
back
did.
in. Yeah, no, you're
There
right. I
wasn't
remember.
a massive spread of it when that
Right.
happened because kids don't catch it
was
as often.
Well, that's
But
changed
now, right, with this variant.
A little bit, and they're afraid it's going to be worse. And all of that is because it mutated when we get vaccinated. Like, I mean, that still goes to my point.
Right. It
Like,
goes
now
to your
kids are
point.
dealing with shit that they shouldn't have to be dealing with because we didn't, as adults, step up and protect them the way we're supposed to.
Right. But then what if they had the virus and the virus sat there and mutated in a little Tommy?
That's not
And-
like
and then-
when
and
it
then he gave it to
mutates.
us.
To be clear,
It
when we're
has
talking,
so the
we're
virus has
talking
to
about the
mutate
virus
in an adult.
mutating. We're not talking. This is
That's my
normally
question.
in cases that have of people that have full-fledged COVID. It's not
Right.
it's not somebody who's carrying it around for 6 months and we don't know it. It's that's not normally when you're seeing the mutation. You're normally seeing it when it's like the fucking, like when it mutates, they get affected very hard. Like they're the people that are going to the hospital with really
Right.
bad symptoms and shit.
But what I'm asking is that is it a possibility that because we all sat around with the mindset, oh well, the kids can't catch it, be around the kids, and the whole time the kids were just housing that motherfucker.
And I don't know. No, nobody thinks that kids were housing it.
I'm not saying housing it. I'm saying like I'm not housing it, but they could have been walking around with the virus within them
without
as
us knowing
as
it.
a
That's
host.
not.
Yeah.
That's not. No, I mean that's.
No, that's not
that-
true.
No one has said that.
There's not been any scientific data to suggest that people are getting tested a lot, right? Like large
Have they
percentage.
looked into that though?
I mean, it would show up in the numbers of people that they're testing. You see what I'm saying? Like with
Are they testing the kids?
yes, like when kids go into hospitals in certain schools. Yeah, I mean, not every single kid, but a good percentage of kids to get, and a number within the mean, so to speak. Like there's nothing that has suggested that there were a large number of kids who had it that weren't showing symptoms that were then spreading it to other people. And when they have cases, they try to track down where you got it from.
They're only testing if you have symptoms.
That's not true. So certain schools would test before you came in. They're like, again, I'm not saying
Test
Huh?
for COVID?
Colleges.
no kids. My kids have been tested for different reasons. Again, I'm not saying that 85% of kids got tested. I'm saying a large enough percentage of kids got tested for one reason or another, because they needed to do this, or because they showed symptoms, or because they were going here, or because they were going there. And none of the data coming back from children who have been tested suggested that, and it's not just tests, right? When you get COVID, they do the very best they can to go back and track where you got it from. And they're pretty good at it too. They don't always get it good at figuring out where you got it from. And none of the data coming in suggests that kids were having the virus but not showing symptoms and then being the ones who passed it along. That's just not been the case. I hear another reason why kids get tested in schools is when there's an outbreak in the school. And then they have to test kids who were in any room that the kids who got sick were in, and, within a certain distance of any rooms. I mean, there's been a lot of kids who have been tested for certain reasons, and nothing is showing that. Look, I want to be clear. Like, I hate saying this because people who want to argue with me are going to jump all over it every time I say it. Nothing is 100%. Like I can't say I'm not suggesting that I know with 100% certainty what is right and wrong. I'm saying the math heavily weighs in what I'm saying is the right way to go in. Now, it could be 99%. It could be 99.99%. And I could end up being wrong, right? But human existence has showed us that the people that have the most success with survival are people that
Are the most ruthless.
are the people who are capable of looking at a decision and recognizing when one of them gives you extraordinary odds over the other one and you take that one, it's gonna work. Yeah, I'm like that's what gives you the better chance of surviving longer, right? Like you don't have to wear a seatbelt, but if you wear one, it's probably gonna work out better for you. Now, you could put on your seatbelt, get in a car crash, get stuck and burn alive because you have a seatbelt on. But statistically, it's much smarter to wear that seatbelt. Does that mean that nothing bad can happen? No, but we put the seatbelt on because we don't want to die in a car crash. And we know it's so much more likely that we'll die not wearing our seatbelts than wear it. And we don't say, well, hey, there's, a 1 in 1,000 chance the seatbelt's going to be what kills me, so I'm not going to wear my seatbelt. I mean, some people do, but not those are the ones who die in car accident. I mean, like it's the ones who survive are the ones who put the seatbelt on. You know what I'm saying? Like when people get cancer, like they're outliers, right? But the ones who survive are the ones who take the medication that could kill you because it's more likely to save you, right? And so you're playing the odds, but the odds are in your favor. There's a reason why in Vegas, all those fucking casinos are like whole blocks, right? I mean, there's a reason why a casino costs $3 billion to build. It's because they're making money hand over fist, and they're doing it with odds that are like 4 or 5% in their favor, right? We're talking about odds that are like that, multiples. Multiple is like 100%, right? Like if something's twice as likely, then that's 200%, right? Casinos get rich off of like a 4%, having 4% odds over you. You know what I'm saying? And we're talking about having like 3,500% odds. Like these are numbers that are in our favor. It doesn't mean it can't work out, but you go with the odds. Like that's just smart.
Kids are spreading the virus. Bro.
All right, hold on. This is like one of like 30 comments, by the way, that took us an hour and a half. Okay, it says, I'm going to put this out there. People like me aren't getting the vaccine because we think the whole pandemic thing is BS. We don't doubt COVID is real. We doubt everything we're being told, which includes the numbers. They skew to scare people. We haven't worn masks, social distance in over a year. Virtually haven't been affected. Oh, we did read this one. Look, I mean, I can't argue with you don't believe it. I mean, everybody's, unfortunately, I shouldn't say it that way, but I mean,
you missed the important part. At the end, it says
she's doing okay.
When she got COVID.
Right. I was getting there. I, burying the lead, right? It's
So
called
she had it and she's okay.
Yes.
She's doing okay. I mean, I think as of last week, she still had it, but things were looking good, which is fantastic. I'm happy for you guys.
Yeah, a lot of people have caught in it and just had to stay home. There's some people that went to the hospital that end up losing their organs.
Some people have to go to the hospital. Some people don't. It depends on how bad you react to it.
I was like talking about the virus.
I am.
Started. And they caught COVID, like, oh, I got COVID. Go to the hospital. I'm dead.
I don't know. I don't know of anybody who died because they went to the hospital with COVID.
I mean, think about that. Think about
what happened to them.
I don't know.
That wouldn't have happened to them if they stayed home. Can't get
I don't know.
COVID twice.
I don't.
Like you
actually, you can.
You can like it be gone and then get it again. When you have it, getting exposed to it doesn't like amplify it. Like when you have it, you have it.
You can do what the hospitals are saying now and just stay home for 2 weeks and chill.
If you can, right? Some people can't breathe.
Or you can come on in and we can go on and get that
liver up out you and help you breathe so you don't die. I mean, look, you're not wrong. It depends on how
my cousin works in the ER. He told me today.
Depends on how severe the case is.
He's like, they're locking down ER down in Miami. And they're not doing they're not doing elective surgeries, I guess.
Right. Which I hate to
Because he
say
was
it,
supposed to come out for my birthday, but he works in this, he's a surgeon.
and I hate to say it, but that's what I'm saying. There's consequences, right? Like, and one of the things that somebody wrote was like, I only have to worry about myself. I don't have to worry about everybody else. But that's not really true. I mean, in a functioning society, we don't just worry about ourselves. Like, we have to worry about how, like, in with that argument, like, if I want to go to a mall and spray everybody with a machine gun, I get to do that because I only have to worry about myself. No, you don't. You don't get to just shoot everybody. Like, that's not how society works. You gotta worry about other people. Hold on. So I mean, with this argument of we just don't believe it. Like, you're entitled to not believe it. I can't
Right.
debate with I don't believe it, because, like, if like, a debate is I give you facts and reasoning and you give me facts and reasoning. I mean, if I just want to take the stance, I don't. And look, I'm not saying you don't have the right to do that. I'm just saying, from a debate standpoint, I can win any debate if I just say, well, I don't believe you, right? You say whatever you want. I don't believe you. I
Don't
mean,
believe the numbers. Don't believe the stats.
right.
Don't
I
believe
don't. Hey, Adam, I don't believe you.
Right. That kind of ends the debate. You don't believe me. You don't believe any of the stuff I'm saying. You're entitled to do that. But if
It's pure poppycock.
right. I wasn't going to go that far, but from a debate standpoint, there's nowhere to go with it. Like, you don't. Okay. I mean, if I can only give you the facts and information I have, if you don't want to believe it, you get to not do that. But without facts of yours to debate, like, I can't make you believe me, so that's your choice. Y'all are using skewed numbers to push viewpoints. They're fake stats. When they stop counting heart attacks and car accidents as COVID deaths, and multiple positive tests on the same person is more than one case, then I'll listen. I mean, I think that goes both ways. I mean, I agree. It's hard to get exact numbers, but it goes both ways. Like, when they're looking at people who've died from the COVID vaccine, they're just looking at how many people have died who've gotten the vaccine, and haven't pinpointed a number of how many of them have died from the vaccine. So, I mean, I think the numbers are skewed in both ways, but I think there's enough numbers that, if you have a mind for numbers, you recognize that, like, even if they are skewed, I mean, they'd have to be not skewed. They'd have to be an outright lie for them to not make sense anyways. You know what I mean? Like, even if you account for them being skewed, they still paint a picture, a pretty, I think, clear picture. Okay. They're telling minority. Okay. I think this was about
Hey,
the
you need
critical
to
race theory.
organize your comments because you're going back and forth.
No.
Well, to be fair, I think we were kind of going back and forth when we.
No. The way they're organized or sorted, it starts out as most relevant, so it kind of like groups them. You
Yeah.
have to
I
actually
need to
put
do
it
them in order.
Yeah.
Real time. Most recent. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I was like, dude, he's just commenting on what we're saying. I didn't realize you were talking about me. Okay. Here we go. Okay, so they're telling minorities at a young age it is impossible for them to be successful because of the past, and white people, how it's benefited to them. So, I mean, we really kind of went into this a lot already on this episode. I'm not trying to ignore it, but I think we kind of covered that. And you might not agree with the information we found, but the information
I don't believe you.
right. But if you have information that contradicts, send it in and we'll talk about that. Teachers are telling their students white people owe reparations to the of slaves and that white people are the problem. That's wrong. I don't, here's the thing. My personal opinion, I don't know. Black people are owed reparations. I do recognize that. I don't know that I owe white people reparations, but this country definitely does. As soon as we can come up with a way to give them what they absolutely deserve for the money they didn't get for the shit they did, that doesn't like mean I have to pay 85% tax rate, I'm all in. Like, and I think there are ways to do it. So I think it can be done. And I think when people work for free in this country, that's not okay, and they should get reimbursed for it. And I know those people are gone, but you know, the people who did get paid back then for the shit they did passed on their wealth. Not all of them, but a lot of them did. And their future generations got to benefit from that. And it's not fair that people who did the amount of work that Black people did without getting a fucking thing for it didn't get to do the same thing.
That's how you get America, man. That's how you get America.
Absolutely.
Walmart.
I don't agree.
Tell them, Vic. I don't believe
All right, let's hear it.
Okay, so 2 points. Actually, the biggest one is we bombed the hell out of this small little island. I can't remember the name of the island.
No.
No, the ones we actually tested the nuclear weapons on.
Oh yeah, Nagasaki or Hiroshima.
No, those ones that wasn't a test.
No, no, he's
that
right.
was not a drill.
Like a small little island that we made completely uninhabitable when we tested.
Much, right? Yes. So we moved those poor people off the island and told them they would be able to come back once we're done testing. That wasn't true. Right. We still, after testing, it was completely destroyed. We moved those poor people to another island. It was. To be fair, I don't know if they knew it wasn't going to be possible until after they tested, but it's still fucked up. So go ahead. Yeah. And then finally, they did move to an island that they're okay now in, but we have paid them reparations for the last 10, 15 years. Yes. The people on the island have stopped working and stopped going to school. There's a very small percentage of them that actually go to college. That's their choice. Higher education. That's their choice. You're absolutely right, but I mean, white people have done that. I mean, there's been plenty of people who born into rich white families who did absolutely nothing with their lives because of that. Yeah, this is not a rich white family. This is they're given enough to survive, but not to thrive, flourish. But I mean, you know, I think I think that's a fair point, but I also feel like, I mean, these are grown ass people that, you know, like, that get to make that. I mean, it's their fucking money. We've never told people you don't deserve your money because we don't like what you're going to do, because we don't think you'll do what we want you to do with. Like, that's not how it works. It's your money. And unless what you're doing with it is illegal, that's your decision to make. Like, that's always been the case. It shouldn't be different here.
Illegal. It's kind of a gray area.
What's your other point? Or do you want to talk about that one more? No, I mean, that's part of it, but you're not improving the lives of these people by giving them money. Possibly. So I don't think you're going to improve anyone's life by just giving them.
That's not what these stimulus checks doing and these PPP loans.
So look, first of all, there's a lot of ways to do reparations. It doesn't have to be cash in people's bank accounts, for starters, right? It could be scholarship. It could be tax refunds. It could be opportunities. All kinds of shit that wouldn't necessarily set them up to just not do anything, right? Second of all, just because that's what happened on that island doesn't mean that's what would happen here. And I think third, it would suck. Like, I don't like the idea that a large group of people would do that, right? But I mean, but they have every right to fucking do that if they want to. Like, if they're grown people, they want to fucking sit around on their asses all day and barely survive because they'd rather do that than work every day. They have every right to do that. But that's what I'm saying.
There were people who did that and they were killed. They were called slaves.
It doesn't. Okay, I hear what you're saying. You're saying we're doing something that wouldn't be in their best interest, right? Right. But we're not talking about prison where it's like you put people in prison to reform them. We're talking about something that they are owed that they did not get, and you don't get to say, well, we do owe it to you, but we don't think you'll do the right thing with it, and it'll probably mess up your life, so we're going to keep it anyways. Like, you don't get to do that. Like,
but that's what they're doing, though.
Yes. And I understand it. I mean, I don't think some people won't do that, but even if some people do that, some certainly won't, right? Some certainly will do things to improve their lives, and they don't get it because other people won't. And then when do you stop? When reparations are when you've done something wrong to somebody, there's a result and you pay that amount, and then that's the end of it. As far as for these people, we continue to pay them no matter what, as long as they're descendants of the people that we wronged.
At some point, there's got to be a hey.
No,
we're done.
I mean, look, people have different opinions about it, but you can
give them land, give them a home,
you can do a
give
mathematical
and
equation
make
as
sure they're straight.
to,
That's it.
you know, how much wages should people have been paid for the work that was done, account for interest, and account for
Look, give them land, give them a home,
that's,
and they'll be okay.
I mean, that's obviously another option, but
You got to realize you have people that were taken from their homes
sure.
and killed and forced to work. So a simple common sense solution, here's land, here's a free built home, free energy, free electricity, and here's X amount for groceries and things that are needed to cover you for a number of, years. Out after that, it could be a 5-year plan, but your home is free, your land is your land, and after that, you do what you wish. But
That's
at least give you a home and land because we did take you from that.
the advantage to it being a financial thing instead of a specific thing is you can take that and buy land and a house, right? Or
Nah, give them that. They when they took the people, they didn't say, here's $50. I would like to take you from your
it's
home
not what I'm
and land.
saying. It's not what I'm saying.
Nah, give them the land that they took from
Not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the advantage to a financial, like money, as opposed to specific items, is people can choose if land and home is what they would want to go buy that, and people could choose, could say, I want to invest this in a business. I want to invest it in a college education.
They can take their money and do that. They can do that with their money, but at least
but
give them home and a land.
You have to understand, if they give them home and a land, the government's going to screw them just like they did the Indians. You're going to get a patch of desert. You're not going to get a fucking grass and a palm tree. You're going to get
I can grow grass. I can grow grass.
Right. I mean, certainly, I don't know if you'd get desert wasteland, but if they have to give away that much land, it's not going to be, in Manhattan. You know what I mean? It's just like they're not going to give away the most.
I want it over there in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, where it's beautiful mountains and elks and.
That's where I want my piece of land.
I think I recognize what you're saying in the sense that's what got taken away, but the advantage. Look, reparations, it's a lot like suing somebody, right? Like when you sue somebody, the only thing you can get is a financial benefit. Now, what happened to you is often not just a financial thing, right? People get hurt, they get taken advantage of. So, right. But the compensation is money. Like that's what you get compensated with. You can't compensate somebody back the emotional pain or the physical pain that they have. So we give them money because that's what there is to compensate people with. I think with reparations, you say,
how do you choose the people you give it to? Is it just all black people?
Well, I would argue it would be people who are descendant of people who.
Yes, Victor, all black. The blackety of the blackest. What was that chef? Her dog Blackie.
If you're somebody who moved here from France 10 years ago, I would argue no, because your family didn't suffer from that, right? But if you're somebody whose family suffered from work that was done that wasn't paid for, or somebody who had their assets illegally taken. Paula Dean.
We'll call it the Paula Dean Fund.
I would argue anybody who has, who is a descendant of somebody who either didn't get paid for work they did, or somebody who had their assets of whatever kind taken from them illegally because they were black, should get reimbursed for that. You
know what's scary about that though, Adam?
Gave somebody back this really big fucking mansion house in some town that was taken. They used eminent domain to take it away from them, but everybody knows it was just, they took it from some black people and they just gave it back to them.
Here's some scary shit about that, man. What happens is when you start to look into who is owed what and who you give what to,
is gonna bring up some ugly stories, man.
So
Damn
what?
right.
To where you'll find out that there may be people who what's the word, genealogy, not genealogy, like ancestry have been erased, like,
Yeah.
and that's a horrible thing. Like there could have been
Yes.
a
Stuff
family to
within
where
that.
like the whole family is wiped out of existence
Sure.
because they were black. And you want to know what happened on a random Sunday evening? They went to go grab a couple black people and just drag them or kill them or beat them or do whatever
Yes.
to them and then dump them in the river. But
That's
they
true.
didn't realize that that one person was that
Yes.
was an only child.
Right.
Well, heck,
And you know what? And that's
You know,
yes,
and
and that's
and that
horrible. I mean, I don't.
but that's America. It happened, bro. You
Yes,
know that'll
but
open up
it
a scary
doesn't.
place.
So, but it doesn't keep us from being able to do it. I mean, like it's just if you die and you have nobody to leave your shit to, it's sad, but it gets the government takes your assets, right? And that sucks. I wish it wasn't true, but I mean that doesn't keep us from reimbursing people who are here today who should have
Right.
benefited and did it. And look, I know some people make the argument that if you do the math that way, look, like every white person in the United States who's had people in their bloodline who had money didn't necessarily financially like not everybody who had money passed it down to their heirs, right? Um,
right.
yeah, like that would have also been true if we had paid black people because that's just true of anybody, right? But there's no way to know that, and we do know that there is a massive imbalance in collected wealth in this country, not only by the haves and the have-nots, but by black people and other people. And we know for a fact that a large reason for that, on top of other things, is that things that they should have gotten paid for and wealth that they should have accumulated and passed down. And you're not wrong about the land, like, because with a house, it's not just that they took the house away, but families often leave property to the next
Yeah.
relative, and that property grows in value, right? So
Right.
that's wealth that they didn't get that they should have gotten, and that stuff can be calculated, not to the exact penny, but to within a reasonable amount, and you account for inflation and you account for
Market
interest,
value and
right? And
What
you
about the
start
Indians?
giving people what and look, I don't
what about the who? What about what did you say,
Indians.
Vic?
What about the Indians?
Indians deserve
You're
reparations
gonna have to
too.
give up all of
I
America,
know, right? It's the
the
whole,
whole
If you
spot,
gave land away, you would,
whole
right? And if you literally
from
paid
sea to
people money into their
shining sea.
accounts, there probably wouldn't be enough money to do it. But there are other ways to do it that we could do it. We could do it in incentives and tax relief and scholarships, and we are rich enough that we could do
We
that.
do it like a call center. Throw these
And
motherfuckers a pizza party.
that's where I start to bump heads with people that are like, yeah, every single person in the United States that's descendant from people that were taken advantage of through slavery and racism should get $10 million. Well, I don't like if we can just make that money and it not
can.
destroy our economy, I'm all in. I think they deserve it too, but
We can
we
print it up.
right, but we go in inflation would turn the dollar into nothing and the country would fall. That's what I'm saying. Like it would have to be a plan that would, first of all, and the issue. I mean, look at it from a community standpoint. Look at it from a selfish standpoint. I mean, if you give everybody $10 million and then money becomes worthless, so does your $10 million. You know, like it's not good for anybody. Like it's got to be something that we can do without destroying our economy. Otherwise, the people that we just
Yeah, check out the peso.
not reprimanded. That's not right.
Reparation.
Asian.
Reparated.
Look,
There you go,
man.
reparated.
Reparated.
Give them HEB buddy bucks.
We have to do it in a way that they benefit from it and that doesn't destroy everything. Anyways, you said you had another thing. What was the
You
other
got to do.
Oh crap.
two things about reparations? One is we'll turn black people into worthless people. No.
That's awesome.
I'm just repeating Victor's words, you know.
That's awesome.
I
Hey,
think
Jesus.
Jesus.
While
I did
he's
have it,
thinking,
but I lost it now.
what have y'all
Dark-
ever watched
Dark soul.
the last episode of SNL when Colin Jost and I know his name. He's so funny. The two guys from the news.
Bill
The black-
Cosby,
Yeah, the black dude.
Leon Phelps,
No.
Samuel L.
He's funny,
Jackson.
too. I like
Somebody
him.
look it up because I don't want to talk about him and not give him credit.
You don't want to just
Paul
go off
Mooney.
the black dude?
The
black guy.
Right. While we're
His
talking
name
about
was
reparation.
Blackie.
Oh, that's bad.
His name was. That's
Uh,
bad. That's real bad.
That's pretty bad, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Michael Che.
Michael
Fucking-
Chase.
Fucking Paula
Jay.
Dean.
Jay.
Che. C-H-E. Che.
Che. I thought you were saying
What
Jay.
nationality is that?
I was like, I know it's not Jay.
Isn't
Che.
there like a folk
I don't know.
hero? Who's Che? Is there
Anyways,
Is it Hungarian?
at the last episode of each season, they write jokes for each other to read,
oh, I love
and
that
they
one.
don't know what the jokes are. They just come up on the teleprompter. And Che
That's
always writes like the most fucked up racist jokes for the white guy to read.
For Yost to read. Oh man, it's hilarious.
Oh, that shit is so funny, man. And then when he does it, he'll be like, Colin, that is horrible, man. Why would you say that? So anyways, good fun. All right. You couldn't think of the other one?
No.
Okay.
So I gotta
Actually,
jump
the other
out
one,
here.
the other one, I do have one, but it's like super racist.
Let's run it. Let's end the show with that one. Go for it. Run it.
All right. So the whole idea was
Yes, it is true about the black man's penis. Is that where you were going?
40 acres and a mule was the original deal.
Right.
Yes.
And the racist part is that there aren't any black people that are alive today that were actually slaves. So the idea is that they haven't really been, they're not the ones that were wronged.
Right.
So
Well,
the reparations would be due to the actual people that were slaves, not necessarily their descendants. And not only is it not the descendants, but it's now we're like 2 or 3 generations from the descendants.
Except we can. I've
Well,
heard that argument before, and I used to agree with it until like we said, you have these conversations and people say something, and you're like, why didn't I think of that before? Of course, that fucking is perfectly logical, which is there is a direct link to the people alive today that they have less because we didn't do that. So they aren't the people who didn't get paid. They're the people who didn't inherit what they would have gotten paid. And that's why they still deserve it. I do think it's a legitimate argument as to why you can't come and take the money out of my pocket because I'm not the one who got free work and didn't pay for it. And so I'm not the one who owes it, but this country does because we saved so much money creating this country and we're able to grow and succeed at a level that we shouldn't have been able to accomplish because we didn't pay for it. Like this country benefited massively. To be fair, everybody in it to some extent benefited from it, right? But some way more than others.
No.
And
No.
Yes.
Yes.
No.
No way. No way, sir.
So you think
You think that they took people from Africa or over on the other side of the world just living outside in bushes? There's places in Africa that look like Vegas, bro. There's like people were taken from families, and then families were.
I'm not talking about the people that were taken. Those people aren't here.
So
well, yeah, you were
I
saying that
know.
everyone benefited.
Everybody
everyone
today.
was
I said everybody in the United States today. I said
look at it like
today
this then.
has
Black
benefited.
people
look at it like
did
this.
not benefit
We
necessarily
didn't.
from.
We didn't. We are lost. We
No,
are.
they haven't
we are
benefited
literally a
nearly
lost
as
people.
much.
We are
but
literally
this-
a lost people. Look at.
Yes, but
here's
that
the easiest
doesn't.
way to look at it. Victor
But
said.
I don't want to spend 45 minutes arguing about how you guys got snowed because you did, and I don't need you know, like I don't think anybody needs that pointed out, but you can be snowed and still benefit. Like those two things don't have to be mutually exclusive. Like you can get fucked and still have things that you benefit from. And living in this country today, I mean, like for everybody is much better than most places on the planet to live, no matter what you go through or who you are. I mean,
That's only because of slavery.
yes, which is what I said.
Yeah.
We all benefited from it. That was my comment.
Right. But what he's saying is that black people did not benefit from slavery because they could have been doing the nice, good job and work and making their countries better in Africa so that they would
wherever they came from.
Yeah, a population and better place there. They could have their own United States.
The same shit that we built here, we could build anywhere else.
Again, that doesn't mean that there's no benefits. You do live here, and there are benefits today when you're here that would not be here today if slavery hadn't existed. All of what y'all are saying are true. They're just not in conflict of what I'm saying. Like everybody who lives in this country today has benefited from slavery, some way more than others, some way less than others. Some people have gone, I'm like, all of that's true. But anybody who's here today has benefited from the work that the people that were stolen, brought over here and forced to work without money and treated like, and all that stuff. Anybody who's living here today has benefited.
How do you feel they benefit? Give me an example of how they benefit.
Fruit of the looms.
Anything. I mean, anything. The fact that our country is like the fact that you can go into a hospital and get healthcare, that's a benefit of slavery.
You could do that in most countries.
Not like you can here. Healthcare in the United States is by far the best. Like everybody knows that. It's expensive. Not everybody gets it at the same level, but the health, like we lead in healthcare. Like the only places that people make any argument on is that some places it's free, and that's great, but it's not as good. Like the health, like medicine in the United States is better than it is anywhere.
Almost anywhere.
You mean the drug game?
No, not just that's not what I mean.
Drug game in America.
No, I mean your expected life expectancy, the chances of you dying of an illness, like all those things. Yeah, your odds are better here.
The medical profession, doctors, they're better here because they're paid better here. So that
where are most of the doctors from?
Why does that matter? Like, you still get to benefit again. Like you're making arguments that don't disagree with what you're right. It wasn't right. Like black people have been treated shitty. Like all that's true. It doesn't change the fact that if you're in the United States, like our country would not be capable of doing any of the stuff that it does today at the level it does it at if when it was founded, we didn't get a couple of 100 years or more of free labor to get the country going. That's my point.
So our country wouldn't be what it was. Basically what you're saying, our country wouldn't be what it was if it wasn't for black people.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. I mean, that's unarguable. I mean, free labor alone, amongst other things that people benefited from.
You want to know what I want as a black man in America? You want to know what I want? I want me a puppy, and I want to name him Blackie. That's what I want. I want that.
Yeah. I want to live in a country where nobody cares if you call your dog Blackie anymore. How about that? Things get so good. You can call your dog whatever you want to, and it doesn't hurt anybody's feelings.
But I'll say it in Dave Chappelle voice. Come here, Blackie. I love the racism.
We benefited from. Why were we talking about the benefit of slavery before we got off on whether everybody benefited from it?
Because the vaccine.
Right. No, it was because reparations and we've all benefited from that. And to say that it's not fair to pay the people that would have benefited had we paid those people like we were supposed to is not a legit argument.
Jewish people reparations? The
Germany?
Jewish people, are they paying?
is America paying the Jewish people reparations?
What do we?
Not the
oh,
Jews, but the Jewish. Are we
I
paying
don't
them
believe-
reparation?
There's aren't different things
L-
for what?
Look into that.
For saving them from the Holocaust?
I don't know. Look into it. Are we? I'm asking.
No, we're not.
Oh,
We don't owe them reparations. Germany does.
oh.
I mean, are you being cryptic for a reason? What would we owe them reparations?
Man, no, I'm not being cryptic. I'm just asking.
No, we don't owe them reparations. Like they quite the contrary. I would think we like saved them and gave them safe haven. I don't think any of them think we owe them reparations.
There's nothing that we're doing for them.
For
Interesting.
what? Why would we?
Hmm.
I mean, if you call going over them, they're freeing them and allowing them to come here to live reparations, then we did that. I don't think that is reparations, but like that's kind of, I mean, that would be, if you're trying to like compare, Germany would be the United States to like, Germany's to the Jews what the United States is to black people.
Whoa. Oh no. Oh,
I
no.
mean, I think it's not exactly fair because Germany was trying to annihilate them and we were using them, right? But
America did both for fun.
Both.
look, you're not wrong, but not.
Both.
I mean, Hitler was trying to remove Jewish people from the planet. Black people, that was not what.
Question.
You can't
Why was he
get
trying
free
to do
labor
that?
for-
Why was he trying to do that?
Because, well, I mean, the theory is self-hate because he was part Jewish.
Well, he was also trying to shift the blame.
Right. I mean, it was also a political strategy to, gain power by, which, it's kind of like in every ruler's handbook. Like if you want to gain power, you need to give the people something to hate. And the
Hey,
Jews.
so I just looked into it just to look into it because we talked about it. List of top 10 countries with best doctors in the world. Number 1, Germany.
All right.
Number 2, United States. And then
Okay.
Israel, Australia, Canada, Belgium, Norway, and Sweden.
So if and it
And
might
you know,
be,
a lot of that science came from, right?
Germans?
Nazi
Yes.
Germany.
Nazis?
yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. I don't know that necessarily the best doctor means best healthcare, but it might. But even if we
I
decide
would
that
say
it
healthcare
does,
because it's even worse. Like I actually looked up healthcare.
Yeah,
we were like
healthcare-
38 or something.
that's only
Yeah,
because
we're-
it gets really complicated. A lot of countries don't report certain
This
shit.
guy. Adam be getting mad, bro. Chill.
I'm not mad. I didn't even raise my voice.
Okay. Adam's like, no, we're America, motherfucker. Look
I
at
didn't
Vic's
even-
pants.
I didn't even get excited. I've gotten much more excited about other shit we've talked about. I just said something. I watched it. Look,
Show
I
your
watched,
pants, Victor. Let Adam be proud.
I watched the whole
That's
thing
how we benefited.
about because remember Michael Moore did the movie about the healthcare system. Only
Fried
Michael-
green tomatoes, is that?
Michael Moore, I like Michael Moore, I actually do, but in his movies,
I like Alex Jones. That guy is
He-
funny.
I mean, it's a proven fact that he takes liberties with the truth to make a point. Like he often will leave out facts or exaggerate things or purposely not talk about other stuff. And that was, he tried to say that our healthcare system was like, I don't know, 29th in the world or something. And they were saying, yes, but like one of the ones he said was infant mortality is, like we're like the second worst or something. But it turns out that most countries don't report a lot of the things that we report as infant fatality. And when you start adding all those numbers in, we're way up at the top again. Like
Same thing they did with COVID when it first hit. Most countries didn't register those
oh,
numbers.
right.
That's true. That's absolutely true.
So
It's
look,
big
I think
business.
I think most people, agree, not everybody, but I think most people agree that the issue with our healthcare system is the cost of it, not anything else. Like, where we lack is that a lot of other developed countries just provide healthcare to everybody and we don't do that. And I think most people would argue that money is the issue with our healthcare system. As far as actually being able to get the treatment that you need, like, we have the ability to do it. It's, do you have money or insurance to get it done? And when you don't, there's options, but they're not the greatest options compared to other countries.
Yeah, because they need to harvest them organs and send them to the people in the other countries who like to drink the blood of the children, like
that happens.
Adrenochrome. What is that called? Adrenochrome?
Much more widespread in other countries than, like, what we're really guilty of is buying the organs from other countries, not illegally harm. That's not. It's a much.
I will look into that, buddy.
There's exceptions to. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I'm saying I
have a friend of a friend who woke up in a bathtub full of ice.
Yeah.
Right. No, I mean, like, seriously, there are other countries where people are kidnapped on a regular basis for their organs. There's a lot of countries where it's just not illegal. Like you can go in and sell your kidney or your liver, and they'll fucking take that shit out and give you the money for it. I think technically it's a problem everywhere, but we're not the country where, I think it's like the Philippines and some Indonesian islands and shit where it's like an actual
this is America's God's country. The CIA did not drop off random vans of assault rifles in the hood.
I think I do. Look, it's very important to always have a healthy amount of cynicism about everything. To not would be stupid. People get taken advantage of. It's absolutely true. To assume that, like, anybody who acts like our countries never did anything wrong or talking about the stuff that we did wrong is unpatriotic, I think is also stupid. Like,
I don't believe you.
We need to admit those things and learn from them. But I gotta say, like, with all the problems that we have, are we number one? I don't know. But to suggest that even with the issues that we have, we've also done a lot of amazing shit. And it's not fair. Like, I think more than ever, people are only look at the negative shit. I mean, we also supply more aid around the world than any other country does. And that's both our government and the population. Like, our government provides more aid around the world by far than any other country does. Look
into what we're doing with our trash, though, our recycles.
Right. But again, that's
look
what I'm saying. Yeah. But that's
barges of our recycled trash that we're just throwing to these other islands.
I guess when I was saying we do negative things, but only looking at the negative things and not looking at all the positive things, I was suggesting let's not only look at the negative things, but the fact that there's also positive things as well. I'm not saying there isn't.
Is the only nation that allows organs to be bought and sold for money.
Where?
Iran.
There you go.
And who are we at war with?
Iraq.
And who do we support to fight Iraq?
Iran.
No.
Interesting.
Saudi Arabia?
No, we didn't. No, we financed the Afghans to fight against the Russians.
And
I mean, we do it a lot. I mean, it's funny. Again, I think that's another thing where it's like, when we want to send troops in to do something, people get very upset and they don't want to do it. And so if we come up with another option so that we don't have to do that, everybody gets upset and says we shouldn't have done that. And if we do nothing, everybody gets upset and says we shouldn't have done that. Like, there's no answer where it's like, oh, we grew flowers and everybody kissed and made up. Like, that's not how any of this shit works. Like, you got, you can't not do anything. You can't not send in troops, and you can't not get somebody else to fight the fight. Like, if you do, like, you can't, if you, what I'm saying? Like, if you don't do one of those two, you're doing the other. You know what I'm saying? Like there's no way to accomplish all three of those things. You know what I mean? We seem to get upset no matter what choice we make. And then the other option is to do nothing. And I don't know that I like that idea, but we also don't like that idea. Like we will say we shouldn't be sending our troops over, but like if there's a country where they're trying to do where there's a one-sided genocide and we don't send people, everybody gets irate about that. Like you can't have it all. Like they're often tough decisions to make where all of the decisions are not going to be fun decisions, but even not doing one is making the other. You know what I mean? Like that happens. Like I see that a lot, like especially like on TV where the hero, it's like everybody's saying you can't do that because if you mess up, war will break out and hundreds of thousands of people will die, and they do it anyways, and they save the person, and the war doesn't break out, and they're the hero because they didn't leave the 3 people behind just because a war might break out. And it's like, yeah. Or you could have fucked up and the war could have broke out. And that never happens in the show. They don't ever say, fuck you, I'm not going to leave 3 people behind, and then make the terrible mistake and the nuclear weapon goes off. You know what I mean? Like, it's nice when you're writing it and you can decide the outcome ahead of time. But in real life, like, often you get to choose between 2 really bad decisions. You know what I mean? And they're and you can't not make a choice,
Yeah. You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't.
Right. And so you got to pick the 2 evils because that's the only option. I mean, they're often just not picking, like just not doing anything is choices. You know what I mean? Like you can't just say, oh, I'm not going to do it. That's one of the bad choices. Like you have to decide. Like,
that's and the whole World War I, World War II. We did shit for a while and then we got in late.
Right. And that's a decision. And there was a whole lot of bad shit that happened because of that. You know what I mean? Like there's consequences no matter what you do, but we've gotten really good at hating no matter what. There's, it's so many, like, and that's all I'm saying is sometimes people just do bad shit, right? It's not that they pick the lesser of 2 evils or what they just were greedy, and that's fucked up. Right. And we need to be aware of that and try to keep that shit from happening. But we also hate on shit all the time that we either know nothing about, or even though, the only other option was a worse option.
Yeah. Have you seen what's going on in Afghanistan right now?
I mean,
it's crazy nonsense.
Right. And that's what we wanted. We've been saying, pull the troops out. Pull the troops out. Pull the troops out. Now they're out, and everybody's pissed about what's happening. It's like you can't have it both ways. We're either there or we're not. Like there's no other option.
We can have it both ways in the multiverse. I got to dip out, you guys.
All right, last thing. To my point, right? Where was the Olympics this year?
China or
Japan, right?
Yeah, I don't remember who's China or Japan. I'm going to say Japan.
This is Japan.
Yeah, you're right. Japan.
Yeah. I knew the answer. I was
China.
Right. Do you know how many?
I got you all at Jack.
To my point, you know how many American athletes who are protesting against our country, right, hating on America and how evil we are, had no problem saluting Japanese flag, and I guarantee the Japanese government is much worse than ours is, right? Having no problem working with the Olympic international community, which is like a group of like thugs not a good word. They're thieves and like make deals with horrible people for money and whatever's in their best interest, right? And nobody had any problem with the Olympic committee. Nobody had problem with Japan, right? It's like, compared to America, like everybody's great. Only that's not really true. Like they're all shitty too.
Yeah, the 70s or the 80s where I don't know what it was, but Russia didn't want people of Jewish descent competing. So the Olympics board just disqualified all the Jewish people on everyone's team.
This year, Russia, who was banned for cheating when it was in Russia, right? They were like giving their athletes steroids, and then like had a whole system set up so that they could swap out their piss to come out negative. It was like the government, like, like it was a government conspiracy to make the Russian athletes win at everything, right? So they got banned from this Olympics, and so they formed like the Russian Olympic Society or some shit, where all the Russian athletes competed under that name. They wore shirts that looked like the Russian flag. I mean, like the only thing that changed was the name of the team, and they competed like just like they did every other year. And
Awesome.
yes, and they accomplished that by bribing the fucking Olympic Committee. Everybody knows it. Like the fucking Russian government gave them like millions of dollars worth of bribes and kickbacks and like fancy hotel, like all this shit, so that they would agree to it. They are the worst people. And they like, they're horrible. And my only point is not that we don't do horrible shit and that we should talk about it. We should be upset about it. We should hold people accountable for it. We should hold our government accountable for it. But that's not all that happens. To suggest that it is leaving out lots of other stuff that we do that's really good, especially compared to other countries that also do really horrible shit. I hate to say it, but as human beings, we are just starting to become not that horrible. You know what I'm saying? like I'm not.
Enlightenment is a little late.
It's not an excuse, but it's not an American issue. It's a human issue. It's an issue all around the world. You know what I mean? We're growing out of it like everybody else is. I would argue in a lot of cases much faster than a lot of places are. So don't forget that. That's not something to not be proud of. I don't know. Acknowledge. We're not all bad. And
I am perfect.
and
But yeah,
we are not our government, right? The people aren't our government as well. So that's another thing to consider. All right. We have run extra late today. So
Yeah.
everybody's
My back hurts.
going. I appreciate you guys coming on. Everybody who watches, please comment whatever you want to say. Give us some info on what we missed, and we will talk about it next week. And thanks for watching, and keep watching, and share, and like, and pass us on.
Thanks, brother.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you. Yep.
You guys.
All right, y'all.
All right. Next week.
Peace.